Hello, hello. Yeah, sound. Yeah, now are you getting it? Just check it out. Yeah, yeah. Hello, hello. Yeah, hello. Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So we had some audio problem in the initial part. Fine. So a very good morning again to everybody. Okay. Uh, this seminar is for the 2 days, and there are 4 sessions in this seminar. The research work of the students is going to be presented in this 4 sessions. In this morning session of day 1, 25th March, we have 7 research work to be presented. Let me share the titles of the presentations which are to be made in this slot. I am sharing a screen. Okay. Okay, so the first presentation today will be on this. You can make a full screen now. Yeah, will be by TRUPTI on an ecocritical analysis of nature in contemporary cinema, a study of Hindi film Bhediya and Sherni. The another research work will be presented by UNNATI on amnesia and the self, a psychoanalytic exploration of memory in Memento and the Bourne identity. The third one will be by KAVITA, and it will be on Beyond the Veil of Silence, exploring Dalit voices in the novels Untouchable and The God of Small Things. This will be followed by the fourth research presentation by Jai Solanki on meme culture, on modern satire and literature, bridging digital humor and literary canon. The next one will be by Rahul, and it will be on manifestation of existentialism in contemporary post-apocalyptic novels, a study of Oryx and Crake, The Road, and Station 11. The next presentation after that will be by PALLAVI, and it will be on echoes of pain, trauma in the lives of Sita, Urmila, and Surpanakha, from the Ramayana to selected contemporary narratives. And the last one in this first session will be by Ria, and it will be on cyborgs, screens, and games, a post-cyberfeminist exploration of female representation in Dalit narratives. Looking at the titles, we can surely say that it is quite an interdisciplinary way of looking at the literature. All the topics are dealing with something very relevant in contemporary times, and quite unique kind of theoretical frameworks are adopted by all the researchers in their selection of the topic and the research work they have done. So let us start with the first presentation of the day. Yeah. Yes, you can start.
Hello everyone. My topic is an eco-critical analysis of nature in contemporary cinema, a study of Bhediya and Sherni. This is a table of contents. Uh, Chapter 1, Introduction. Eco-criticism, a literary and cultural theory that explores the relationship between human, nature, and storytelling. It examines how literature and cinema shape and critique ecological concerns, advocating a shift from anthropocentrism to ecocentrism and promoting ethical, sustainable human-nature relationship. Key theories in eco-criticism, deep ecology. In a deep ecology, we can see that given importance to both nature and human at the same time. Like in the anthropocentrism idea, we can see that it challenges the idea that human are superior and the nature is inferior. The deep ecology theory challenges anthropocentrism idea. Ecofeminism, in which we can see a link environmental and gender operation. The ecofeminism, we can see the woman and nature treated as the same, like they both are quite inferior. And the post-humanism, the challenge is the idea that human are more important than nature. And the post-humanism follow that idea that the nature and the human both are equal, and not in the between there are differences, that human is superior and nature is inferior. Eco-Marxism, which critiques capitalism's role in environmental degradation. Eco-criticism in Indian cinema. Traditionally, Indian films use nature as a picturesque backdrop rather than an active force. In the traditional way, we can see that in the older movies, we can see which shows nature as inferior and quiet, and it give more importance to the human than nature. Modern film like Bhediya and Sherni challenges this by making nature as a central character in the narrative. And this film critique deforestation, human-wildlife conflict, and government failures in conversation. Introduction to the films. Bhediya, a supernatural allegory and on deforestation and human nature conflict. In a Bhediya movie, we can see that the transformation of Bhaskar, who is a protagonist of the film, which uh, critique the idea that nature also fights back, and the Bhaskar's transformation shows us to that nature and human, they both are equal. And in a Sherni, a realistic portrayal of conversation struggle and bureaucratic enthusiasm. Common themes: urbanization and deforestation. In the both movie, we can see that in the Bhediya movie, we can see Bhaskar, who is a officer and who wants to build buildings and companies and factories in the forest area, and he tries to convince that indigenous people that to sell their lands. And he is like giving a dream to that people that we will give you modernization, and your we will bring your land modern and all that. In the Sherni movie, we can also see that because of the politics and the hunters, they are convincing people to sell their lands, and they are also mining the lands. Human wildlife conflict. Tigress as a victim of encroachment. In the movie Sherni, we can see that the Sherni, who is a tigress, and he just not having his own place in his own forest because of that conflicts of politics and the hunters. Ecofeminism and gender. Women as the environmental protectors. And non-human agency, nature realistic in Bhediya, wildlife resistant in Sherni. Cinema as an environmental advocacy. Film shape ecological consciousness and a shift from passive nature to nature as a active role. In the both movie, we can see that it gives importance to nature, and nature play as an active role. Hypothesis: the ecocritical crisis depicted in Bhediya and Sherni serve as a microcosm of global environment challenges, presenting nature as an active agent and reshaping the audience understanding of the human environmental relationship. These are the research questions. These are the objectives. And chapter 2, literature review. The title of the eco-criticism reader, and the key argument is defines eco-criticism as the study of nature in literature. The future of environmental criticism, and its key argument is literature shapes ecological consciousness and ethics. Ecologies of the moving image, and its key argument is film influence public perception of ecological issues. American androgra- ethnographic film and eco-cinema, and show slow cinema for its deep environmental engagement. Cinema and the Indian environment. And its key argument is Indian films transition from nature as a backdrop to activism. The Great Derangement, Climate and Fiction. And its key argument is film explore climate change and environmental crisis. Staying Alive, Woman, Ecology and Survival, and its key argument is links environmental destruction to patriarchal oppression. Feminism and Mystery of Nature challenges human dominance over nature and gendered roles. Capitalism in the Web of Life, capitalism drives to ecological crisis and resource exploitation. Marx Ecology, Materialism and Nature examine capitalism's role in environmental degradation. Slow violence and the environmentalism of the poor, and its key argument is environmental harm disproportionately affects marginalized communities. And Simeon's cyborgs and women, and its argument is call for recognizing nature as an active role in culture. Research gap. Eco-critical narratives in Indian cinema have gained prominence, yet research on films like Bhediya and Sherni remains insufficient. These films critique capitalist exploitation, human-wildlife conflict, and bureaucratic failures, but studies rarely explore their use of folklore, ecofeminism, and post-humanism to challenge anthropocentric ideologies. The power struggle between state authorities and local communities in conversation is also overlooked. Sherni critiques bureaucratic influence efficiency, while Bhediya portrays nature as a retaliation against exploitation. This study fills this gap through eco-critical analysis, examining the impact on environmental discourse in Indian cinema. Chapter 3, Eco-critical analysis of Bhediya. Nature as an active role. The film challenges anthropocentric views by portraying nature as a powerful entity rather than a passive backdrop. Bhaskar's transformation into a werewolf serve as a metaphor for ecological retribution, highlighting the consequences of environmental destruction. Deforestation and corporate greed. The storyline critiques capitalist driven deforestation, where economic expansion comes at a cost of ecological destruction. Human intervention in nature leads to unintended consequences, reinforcing the idea that nature will retail against exploitation. The film highlights the clash between modernization and nature, where urbanization threatens fragile ecosystems. Indigenous knowledge and environmental resistance. The film highlights the wisdom of indigenous community who coexist with nature in a sustainable way, a traditional belief that contrasts with corporate greed, emphasizing the need to respect ecological balance. A human-animal hybridity and post-humanism. Bhaskar's transformation blur the boundaries between human and non-human nature, challenging human superiority. The film suggests that nature is not a resource to be exploited, but a force that demands respect and balance. The film uses myth and folklore to depict nature as a powerful, uncontrollable force that humans fear, yet they exploit it. Visual representation of conflict. In this image, we can see that there is a standing man who is a protagonist of the movie, Bhaskar, and who is in the front of him there is a people who own their land in the forest area, and the Bhaskar who is trying to convince the people that sell their land and give it to them so he can build a mall and factories and the other new things so that it can be a modernization. The folklore and ecological consciousness. In that, this scene, ritualistic imagery and mythology to depict nature's power, with the wolf-shaped fire symbolizing nature's retaliation against human exploitation. And it aligns with indigenous belief system where supernatural entities act as the protectors of the environment, reinforcing the film's critique of anthropocentrism. Chapter 4, Eco-critical analysis of Sherni, human-wildlife conflict. In the movie, Sherni critiques deforestation and habitat destruction, exposing how policies favor industrial expansion over ecological balance. In the movie, we can see that the human and the wildlife conflict, the Sherni tigress who come in the living area of a human being, and because she has uh, the human beings who exploited and deforest the area of a forest, that's why she came into the living area of human being. Ecofeminism and gendered conversation. Vidya Vincent, who is a protagonist of the movie, resistance patriarchal structures, advocating of ethical conversation over exploitation. Bureaucratic failure and the capitalist exploitation. In the movie, we can see that bureaucratic, because of political and government officers, because of their own benefit, they are want to kill the tiger, uh, and they are just convincing people that the killing the tiger is the best option rather than saving her. And indigenous resistance, the film highlights a local ecological knowledge often dismissed by state authorities. This movie frame, livelihood versus conversation. Villagers depend on forest for grazing but face restriction due to the tigress. In this frame, we can see that the Vidya Vincent, who is a forest officer, and who is telling the indigenous people for that you cannot come into this area because there is a tiger who, and the a tiger as a symbol of, like, a tiger is a man eater, so you cannot come in this area, and his own land. And authority versus local knowledge, like forest officer enforce policies ignoring villagers deep rooted or coexistent with nature. Like if you are coming in the forest and if the tigress will eat you, we cannot do anything. So you cannot come in this restricted area. uh, Excavating conflict, development versus deep ecology. A deep ecology perspective critiques human centered development and promotes the instruction value of nature. In this, we can see a mining of the deforest forest. In this, there is a this constructor area in the middle of the forest. So there. So it directly affect the animals in the forest which lives, so he cannot properly live in the forest, and they are just going far away from the forest area. Human wildlife conflict, mining forces animals to migrate, and it also leads to migrate animals, increasing clash between humans and wildlife. Traditional ecological knowledge versus industrial expansion. Indigenous and ecological perspective, advocates of coexistence while bureaucrat policies prioritize economic gain. This scene, a government's proposal, eliminate the tiger. In this, we can see a government who is sitting in the chair. We can see that they are trying to convince the people that the killing the tiger is the best option because of their own benefit. And the man who is uh, sitting with a gun, who is a hunter and who just want to build their record that I how this many animals I have killed. That's why he just want to try the kill the tiger. And struggle for agency highlights the clash between conversation, livelihoods, and state power. Conclusion. Ecocritical significance, a Bhediya supernatural allegory, and Sherni realistic approach. Critic anthropocentric worldviews. Both films highlight ecological crisis, human wildlife conflict, and the urgency of sustainable coexistence. Contribution to eco-criticism in Indian cinema, a shift from portraying nature as a backdrop of to an active ecological force. Bhediya, deep ecology, indigenous perspective, and myth-based storytelling. Sherni, ecofeminist themes, systematic critique, and bureaucratic obstacles. Border implications. Cinema as a powerful tool for environmental advocacy and awareness. Highlights gender, politics, and corporate exploitation in conversation discourse. Limitations and future research, need for audience reception studies and exploration of more films, and expanding intersectional analysis like caste, class, and environmental justice. This is my sources. Thank you. Now, if you have any question, you can ask me.
So, Trupti, my question is, how do these films critique the role of blur accuracy and politics in environmental decision making?
The both films, Bhediya and Sherni, critique the bureaucracy and politics. In a Bhediya movie, we can see that the man Bhaskar who just want to grab that opportunity, but we can not say the opportunity, but the indigenous people who just not aware about it, and they just want to buy their lands, and because of the development, but the development should be a sustainable development, but he is just trying to convince the people that sell their lands and we will give you malls and we will give you facilities for a better living. And also in the Sherni movie we can see that they are politics and government officers who just their own benefits they want to try the kill the tiger. Because of that they can show that what we do for them, and we save you from the tiger and all. But the main problem is that they are deforesting the forest and just mining the land.
Yes, Trupti, in what ways do these films challenges a traditional anthropocentric perspective in the storytelling?
In the other films, the Bhediya and Sherni shows the uh, in the Bhediya we can see a Bhaskar's transformation, which uh, gave a modern way to that nature can also fight back, like the Bhediya, as we can see the Bhediya who is just trying to save their land and show that nature can also fight back. And in the Sherni movie we can also see the media in the movie, the media play as a man eater tiger, but the tiger is obviously if you are not if you are coming in their land and harm them, so obviously they can attack you, and they just try to defend themselves. That's why we can see that in the movie, in the both movie Bhediya and Sherni, it shows a nature as an active role.
Okay. You also have mentioned
Yes,
that uh, this solely through this modern scientific interventions, the work will not be sorted out, like sustainability of environmental crisis. But you need to incorporate indigenous knowledge systems.
yes.
Uh, like films like Sherni, it uses the people who are academically strong, like a forest officer
Hmm.
is there, there is a professor who are trying to solve the issues. So why do you think that modern scientific academic intervention will not help, but indigenous knowledge systems will be required here?
So in this we can see that the officers and they also have a power, and as I can see that the indigenous people who live there, they are not actually aware about it. Like they are just doing some good things and try to just convince them that to sell their lands or anything, that they are giving some uh, what we can say is some good opportunities, but not it's actually opportunity, but they just try to steal the lands, and the indigenous people who is not aware about it. That's why the indigenous knowledge is like in that case a lack of knowledge.
Is this
Yes.
supported by any of the theoretical concepts that we have read in the literature review? Anybody is talking about this debate
No, sir.
or how they try to resolve this, and why the academic is failing? And so we have to go back to the indigenous people who are not aware about it,
Yes.
but that knowledge is also required.
Hmm.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Okay, so the next presenter. speaker is Unnati, and yes, Unnati will make a presentation on amnesia and the self, psychoanalytic exploration of memory in Memento and Bourne identity.
So, hello everyone, very good morning. And yes, morning. Okay, so this is the title of my dissertation, that is Amnesia and the Self, a Psychoanalytic Exploration of Memory in Memento and the Bourne Identity. My table of content and the introduction, which talks about the theoretical framework, in which the first one is Lacan's theory, that is of Lacan's theory of the split subject, which talks about the main protagonist of both the movies, that is the Leonard and Bourne, Jason Bourne, which embodies Lacan's split subject, where past, present, and desired identities remain disconnected. Then another one is Freudian concepts of memory and repression, which talks about that memory is a selective construct influenced by subconscious desires and trauma. Leonard's distorted recollections and Bond's struggle with the assassin past reflects these ideas. Postmodern theories of identity. Identity is fluid fluid and performative. The nonlinear narrative and subjective perspectives in both the film challenges traditional notions of stable self. Then is psychoanalytic film analysis as a primary method. Psychoanalytic film analysis is used to explore how unconscious processes, repressions, trauma, and identity are depicted in cinema. Techniques such as fragmented editing and unreliable narrator simulate the protagonist's fractured states of mind. Scope of delimation, which the study focuses on Memento and Bourne's identity due to their explicit engagement with amnesia and self-reconstruction. The analysis draws primarily from psychoanalytic and the filmic perspective, in excluding clinical or neuroscientific approaches, where Memento examines anterograde amnesia, which means the one who knows about the means is known about his past but forgets about the present moment, uh, like that. And in the Bourne identity, investigates the retrograde amnesia, which means the one who is unaware about his past and aware and is in search for his present self. Research problems and justification. The chapter highlights the growing fascinations with fractured identities and memory loss in contemporary cinema. Films depicting amnesia not only serves as engaging narrative but also provide a platform to explore deeper existential and psychoanalytic concerns about selfhood. The use of nonlinear storytelling, unreliable narrators, and the fragmented perspectives immerses audience in the protagonist's disoriented realities. These are my hypothesis, research questions, and the objectives. So yes, chapter 2 about literature review. It talks about the films in which the first one is Freud's repression theory, which is applied, in which emphasis on how traumatic memories are repressed and resuffers later, influencing the identity and perceptions. PTSD mechanisms, which means post-traumatic stress disorder, which highlights how trauma disrupts symbolization processes, overwhelms the ego, and results in vivid, intrusive memories rather than repression. Representation of trauma in films, that focuses on how movies like Memento and Bourne Identity depict trauma and fragmented identity, drawing from interdisciplinary approaches that incorporate psychoanalysis, cognitive behavioral theory, and cultural memory studies. That then is Breuer's and Freud's theory, which their early works on hysteria and trauma laid a groundwork for understanding traumatic memory and disassociation, which is reflected in the protagonist's fragmented identities in the film. Then is Perry Gent's dissociation theory, which jets idea that trauma leads to fragmented memories, and dissociation is applied to analyze how Leonardo Shelby and Jason Bourne, protagonist of both the films, reconstruct their identities through fragmented narratives. Yes, identified research gaps, which I'll be talking about. That is the lack of comparative psychoanalytic studies, which was while selecting this topic, I decided that I won't be comparing both the movies, but I'll be dealing with the theory. That is a theoretical framework, and the main theorist that is I've taken is Sigmund Freud, one of his texts, the Interpretations of Dream. From that, I have just tried to connect it. And limited use of Lacan's and Baudrillard theories in film studies. Yes, that is a very limited use in my work. And yes, insufficient attention to nonlinear narrative structures. Main focus was on to the trauma and psychoanalytic perspective about the characters. So yes, now the chapter 3, amnesia, memory, and the identity in the movie Memento. The Memento by Christopher Nolan's 2000 film that challenges conventional storytelling by employing a complex nonlinear narrative structure. The protagonist Leonardo Shelby suffers from anterograde amnesia, preventing him from forming new long-term memories after a traumatic incident. Through its fragmented structure, Memento immerses the audience in Leonardo's disoriented mental state, forcing viewers to reconstruct the story in the same disjointed manners as Leonardo attempts to make sense of his past. Okay, so the film takes place in color sequence and black and white sequence. In the color sequence, which is the very first scene of the movie, opens with a reverse chronology, which is the hero is holding a gun in his hand, and from that reverse scene, the movie opens. And there's a black and white scene presented in linear order, serving as Leonard's internal monologue and attempts at rationalization. Yes, this dual structure culminates at the climax, where both the timelines converge to reveal a deeper truth about Leonard's fragmented psyche. Yes, psychoanalytic theory in Memento, where the first one is Freud's iceberg model and repression theory, which talks of Freud's model of the unconscious, ID, ego, and superego, resonates with Leonard's fragmented mental state. Then the Lacan's mirror stage and orders of reality, which concept of mirror stage highlights how Leonard's reliance on tattoo, Polaroids. Okay, so the movie is like the hero, that is the Leonardo, is trying to take revenge of her wife's murder. And he as during that murder of a wife, he went to his wife and he was hit by someone, and he just lost his he got a anterograde amnesia, which he forgot very easily the present sequence of his life, but is aware about the past. That is, he has to take the revenge of a wife's murderer. So in that case, he keeps on writing notes, take photos of place wherever he visits, and also keeps a tattoo on his body to remember the things. Yes. Film studies perspective, as a chapter highlights how Memento embodies postmodern narrative structure and engages spectators through nonlinear storytelling. Cognitive film theory explores how viewers engage in narrative comprehension and memory reconstruction. Memento disrupts conventional cognitive process by forcing audience to actively piece together events in reverse, creating an embodied cognitive experience of disorientation. Yes, over here, the viewers and the audience also are, we can consider Leonardo as a non-reliable narrator, because we cannot narrate on someone who is already like a patient of amnesia. So in that case also, it leaves lots of interpretation for the audience and the viewers. Yes, the another one is chapter 4, the shadows of memory, amnesia, and the fragmented self in the Bourne identity. The movie directed by Ding Lumen, 2002 film, which talks about the movie is like there's an opening scene where the hero is being floating in the sea, found in the sea by a fisherman, and is saved by them, as he was a agent of a CIA, Central Intelligence Agency agent, and was hired to kill the Bombacy, an enemy of the agency. So he was hired for that, but anyhow he survived and was survived, yes. And the agency was in the search of him, as the one who is seen by the enemy, and obviously enemies are also in search of this agent, so they also want to kill him. And during that phase, he lost his memory of the past and was trying to recollect his self, his own memory, through various ways. In the very first scene, we'll see a gadget in the hand, where he'll touch on the wall, and there's written the address of a bank of Switzerland, and where he is trying to then he goes to the Switzerland bank, and there he finds his different identities, where there he was same photo but of different names, like passports of his own passport in different ways, yes. So the big other, the CIA as the ultimate authority. The CIA represents Lacan's big other, an external authority that dictates Bond's constructed identity. As I mentioned, that how the banks and the agencies, that CIA agency is trying to control his mental state, like by giving a false identity of himself. Yes. Postmodern identity and memory. Bond's fragmented identity reflects postmodern concerns, where memory and selfhood are unstable, shaped by external systems of power rather than authentic lived experience. Derrida deconstruction. The film as a critique of spy thriller genre. Over here, the chapter applies Derrida's concept of deconstruction to argue that Bond's identity critique traditional spy thriller tropes. Unlike James Bond, Bond questions and ultimately rejects his role as a state operative, challenging the ideological assumptions that underlie conventional spy narratives. Okay, so at the end, when he's caught by the agency, he is gone. He has gone to find the agency, and at the end, he denies to work for the agency, and also wants to destroy the agency, as he get to know that how this agencies work, and he personally didn't want to work with this. So yeah, psychoanalytic reading of the key scenes, that is the opening scene, rescue from the sea, and yes, as I mentioned, that he was rescued from the sea, and Bond's fractured unconscious. Bond's emergence from the Mediterranean Sea serves as a metaphorical rebirth, where his body carries the scars of a past that his mind cannot yet access. Muscle memory as a return of the repressed. Bond's instinctual combat abilities, activated without conscious awareness, reflect the return of the repressed knowledge and trauma through the body. The CI control and Bond's rejection of his past. Okay, so over here, the 9/11 attack is being critiqued, where is trying to say that how during the time of 9/11 the people were traumatized, the American peoples were in shock, they were, so their mental state and the mental states of the Bourne and Leonard is being seen over here. Yes. The conclusion, chapter 5, the split subject and fragmented identities, where the Leonard's fragmented self, amnesia, prevents him from integrating his past and present, causing his identity to fragment. Where Bond's dual identity, Bond's conflict lies between his unconscious training as an assassin and his conscious desire to reject this identity. His journey illustrates a Lacanian struggle where the subject between the imagery and the symbolic lies between them. The narrative structures as reflections of psychological process. Okay, so in the Memento, we can see the reverse chronological mimics Leonard's fragmented memory and unstable perception of time. And then, yes, the Bourne identity talks about the journey unfolds in a more linear fashion, but is punctuated by fragmented flashbacks, representing his gradual recollections of a past that he ultimately chooses to reject. Cultural and psychological themes and approaches of amnesia, where Memento as a postmodern exploration of truth, where Leonardo's world is a stimulation constructed through signs and symbols, aligning with Baudrillard's hyperreality. So yes, the concept of Baudrillard's hyperreality, which means that the one living in a state that is in a reality and like stimulated reality, like fake or real, matlab, in that sense they are like conflicting. The Bond identity as a critic of surveillance and control, Bond's resistance against the CIA reflects Foucauldian's concern, that is Michael Foucault's concern about the surveillance, biopolitical control, and shaping of identities by institutional forces. That how in the Bond identity, the agencies are trying to make give the false passports and identity to the Bond. Yes, cinematic technique and their role in depicting fractured identity. The study analyzes how the Memento, which is the nonlinear narrative, use black and white and color sequence to reflect different timelines. And in the Born Identity, handheld camera techniques, flashbacks, and rapid editing to convey disorientation. Yes, some key aspects explored in the dissertation, that how amnesia disrupts identity and narrative continuity, the role of external symbols in reconstructing fractured identities, the application of psychoanalytic theories to understand identity fragmentation, the use of cinematic techniques to embody psychological disarray. Okay, so my remaining considerations and gap, which talks about the ethical implications of Memento, where actions can be ethically justified given his fractured memory, broader implications of yes, these are some of the things which can be further like looked upon. So this is my bibliography, and yes, so thank you. This is from my side. Now I'm open for questions.
Unnati, my question is, how does amnesia create a conflict between memory and identity?
Okay, so amnesia creates a conflict between memory and identity. As amnesia creates conflict in a way, we can say that we cannot rely on we can say a psychologically unstable person about the memory. Here is Leonard is an unreliable narrator, which we cannot rely, because he is a patient of amnesia, which the story in the story we cannot rely on him. So we cannot rely on his identity and his memory also. So in that case, we can see that conflict.
Yes, so Nadi, my question to you is, how do the two films differ in their depiction of amnesia, both in terms of its philosophical impact on the character and its narrative function within the story?
Okay, so talking about the psychological impact on the characters and its narrative function with the story. Yes, Leonardo, as mentioned, is a non-linear type of a narrative pattern, which which depicts amnesia, as I mentioned, two types of amnesia, antrograde and retrograde. So here we can connect in both the characters that Leonardo antrograde and Bourne as the retrograde, which means Leonardo was the one who cannot make new memories and is only aware about his past, whereas the Bourne who is unaware about his past and and is in the search for the self and his identity. Yes.
Okay, you have discussed that one narrative is linear, the another is non-linear. Both in the conclusion you are mentioning the narrative structure. So both is Memento is non-linear reverse chronology, and Bourne identity is more conventional linear progression. So how this opposite between these two narrative
Yes.
supports the same idea about self, or the postmodern way of looking at ethical, or the idea of truth also.
Okay. So we can see that Leonardo, who is like in search for the murderer, and is like living his life for his wife. His only aim for now was to just find the murderer of a wife, and to in that sense. And whereas Bourne, the one who is in the search for his own self, so the one is living for the revenge, and the another we can say living for his own identity, for the search for his own identity.
Also said that amnesia is functioning as a narrative device. So like if it is not amnesia, then what is the possibility of telling this story, or how important it is that this kinds of narrative or these topics can be addressed only through the concept of amnesia?
Okay, apart from amnesia, yes, it can.
Is it possible that the same thing can be told without amnesia? If not, then why amnesia is so crucial to tell these ideas, to talk about these ideas?
Okay, so this movies can also be talked apart from amnesia in the film analysis, like film studies approach. Also, we can see how the frames and how the Polaroids notes are being used. And amnesia, I choose amnesia because personally I found that there's more struggle for self and self identity, self search. So I found it in that sense.
Still look into this very concept of amnesia, because it is also explored in different ways, even in post-colonial discourse, or the very idea about the forgetfulness of the people in context of history. Also, it is used. So that way, this idea, how it is very crucial as a narrative device, and like it is nearly impossible to reach out to several concepts in a postmodern way without taking or relying on the idea of amnesia, the forgetfulness of human being as a whole. It's not only the disease or these two protagonists, but in a society also, how people are forgetful to the past. And so how the kinds of pain, agony that keeps on repeating on the people. That is the larger context in which this both the films can be visualized also. Okay, let us come to the next presenter. The third presentation is by KAVITA, and she is going to make a presentation on Beyond the Veil of Silence, exploring Dalit voices in the novels like Untouchable and The God of Small Things.
Hello everyone, very good afternoon to all of you. The seminar on the dissertation topic
My topic is the Beyond the Valley of Silence, explore the Dalit voice in the novels, Untouchable and the God of Small Thing. It's the index and
Speak in
chapter
the
1.
mic so the voice is not captured fully. Yeah? Keep that mic here, near your mouth. Yeah.
Restart, Ivy? Yeah, restart. Hello everyone, I am Kavita CHAUHAN and this presentation on my topic is the Beyond the Valley of Silence, explore the Dalit voice in the novels Untouchable and God of Small Thing. It's my index and start with chapter 1 introduction. Background of the study. The caste system has historically structured in Indian society, leading to the social, economic, and cultural marginalization of Dalit. Dalit voice have been supposed through institutional accusation, caste violence, and hegemonic control literature. Silence function as both oppression and resistance in Dalit narrative. That is Spivak can subaltern speak and above the Dalit writer and the theoretical Ambedkar talk about the background of the Dalit literature and the features. The role of the Dalit literature in representation. Literature challenges hegemonic caste narrative and offer a voice of the oppressed. Dalit literature emerged as a form of resistance, breaking the century of upper class dominance in literary discourse. Both Untouchable and God of Small Things serve as a critical literary intervention in understanding caste-based oppression. The most selected novel, Untouchable, published in 1935 by Mulkraj Anand, is portray the Dalit oppression in colonial India, focus on who work as like a sweeper boy, express the rigid caste system, the psychological burden of untouchability, and Gandhian social forms. Highlight the how modernization, example of flash system, challenges caste-based labor structure. In the second novel selected God of Small Thing in 1997 by Arundhati Roy, the novel explored the caste and gender oppression in the post-colonial India through the tragic fight of the Velutha, the Dalit Parthan. Critique how the caste interact with patriarchy, social honor, and political power. User non-linear storytelling and symboling to highlight the silence as the form of oppression and trauma. Theoretical framework. Dalit literature perspective. B.R. Ambedkar, who talk in the literature as a tool for caste ammunition. Uh, Sharan Kumar Limbak toward the ethic of the Dalit literature in the book Ethnic Dalit Voice, Post-Colonial Theory, given by the advocate Homi Bhabha and Franz Fanon. Homi Bhabha's theory applies the mimicry, hybridity, and ambivalence. Fanon's theory, psychological operation, and integrity. Subaltern theory, given by Anthony Grassmith and later explained by the Gayatri Spivak. Gayatri Spivak can subaltern speak Dalit as a silent subaltern and grasping the cultural hegemony and caste-based domination. Hypothesis of my presentation and research question, objective, research scape, and chapter 2, literature review. Uh, scholar B.R. Ambedkar in 1936 theory concept of the literature as a tool for caste ammunition and social justice. In the relevance to the Dalit literature, Dalit writing serve as a political resistance and explore the caste discrimination. Second, Limback say in the theory concept toward ethnic of the Dalit literature should reflect the Dalit live experience, reject the Brahmin literary norms. In the relevance, Dalit literature, Untouchable and God of Small Thing, engaging with Dalit struggle, but through non-Dalit writer. Nimod Desai, Dalit Pathan movement, Dalit literature as a radical protest against and caste oppression, and that relevant in the Dalit literature. Dalit poetry and novel are used to mobilize resistance against the caste discrimination. Nicholas Dick's caste of mind, British colonial institutionalized the caste through the legal and administrative policies. Relevance in the Dalit marginalization was reinforced by the colonial policies that confused, codified caste into governance. Homibhavas, mimicry, hybridity, and ambivalence. Dalit attempt to emit upper class behavior for social mobility, but remain excluded. Bakha in the untouchable memes British manner, but remained at outcast in Indian society. Gayatri Spivak and subaltern speak. The subaltern, Dalit or marginal people are the denied the self-representation in their voice are meditated through dominated caste narrative. In the God of Small Thing, Velutha's story is told through the perspective of upper class characters. Uh, Greece, cultural hegemony, dominant group control knowledge production, and suppose Dalit perspective. Mainstream Indian literature focus area Dalit narrative or portray them as a passive victim aspect of the both novel Untouchable and God of Small Thing. Main protagonist Bakha as Dalit sweeper boy facing the caste humiliation, and in the God of Small Thing, Velutha character is carpenter caste-based violence. Uh, Literature criticism. Anand criticized the caste oppression but the non-Dalit writer. Roy portrayed the caste unjustic but contained upper class families perspective. Post-colonial lens, mimicry. Bakha admire British culture, believe it offer equality. A hybrid, in the God of Small Thing, hybridity value the skill and integrates make he treat a caste system. Subaltern silence. Bakha is unable to speak against his oppression and suffer in silence. In Velutha is spoken for upper character, reinforce his lack of agency. In chapter 3, analysis of the novel Untouchable, well of the silence in Untouchable. Definitions, suppression of Dalit voice. The wells of silence is metaphor for the system suppression of Dalit voice. Ensure that their struggle, identity, and suppression remain unheard. In caste reading Indian society, Dalit have been a historical excluded from social, political, literary space and rendering them voiceless. How silence is enforced in the novel. Social silence. Bakha is not allowed to respond when upper class people insult them. He exists in the define the submission and obedience. Psychological silence. Bakha is internalize his inferiority, admirity British culture as a means of escape, but realize he does not liberate them. Institutional silence. The caste system operate as an unchanging structure, repreventing the Dalit from the expressing resistance or demanding justice. In the quote from the novel, he had never been asked what he went, and he was always told. In the quote, they talk about the character of the Bakhadi. In the whenever I read the novel, that character of the Bakha is like a silence, but he speak, but he have no power to speaking and follow the upper class people's rules. Voice of the Dalit in Untouchable. Anand as an advocate for Dalit voice. Untouchable serve as a literary platform for the Dalit struggle, offering a realistic and empathetic portrait of caste oppression. Anand represents Bakha the humiliation, aspirations, and inner conflict, forcing reader to engage with harsh reality of untouchability. Humanization, the Dalit experience. Bakha is not just a victim. Anand depicts as his emotion, desire, and struggle, making his pain deep, personal, and related.
Character of the Shohin, Bakha's sister, explore the highlight the interaction of the caste and gender oppression, relevance the sexual vulnerability of the Dalit woman. They think we are made dirt because we are their dirt. In the character of the Sohani, whenever I read the novel, the chapter of the she was going for the some water, and she was is like abused by the upper class, is like a pandit, and they are like harassment system, harassment like with her sister, but he was is like a Brahmin family. They like we are the upper class, and we touch to the lower class people, we are untouchable, and we are unpure, and that man and patriarchal society, that lusty mind force that no have that time remember their caste and other thing, breaking the silence. The novel rejects upper class narrative, portray Dalit as a thinking, feeling individual rather than silence, suffering by the central Bakha's perspective, and give voice add to the otherwise unheard community. Thematic analysis of the untouchability, caste-based oppression, identity and dignity, resist and hope. Thematic perspective on the untouchable. Mulkaraj Anand, the untouchable can be analyzed through the Dalit literary criticism, post-colonial theory, subaltern study. Each offer a different perspective on Bakha's struggle, caste oppression, and enforced silence. Dalit literary theory, it's given by the Ambedkar social justice theory. Literature should explore the caste oppression and serve as a tool for social change. Untouchable present the workers' suffering as critics of a caste-based discrimination, reflect the Ambedkar for a caste inhumation. Uh, Sharan Kumar Limbach, the advocate for the ethnic Dalit narrative, rejected upper class representation of Dalit struggle. Anand is a non-Dalit writer, portrays Bakha operation sympathetic, but through the outsider perspective. Thus, as the Dalit Parathon movement, the literature should provoke a radical resistance against the caste oppression. The poet's speech in the novel mirror Dalit Parathon ideology, arguing a direct action rather than passive suffering. In the post-colonial theory in Untouchable, Nicholas Dick cast of the mind, British colonial rule reinforced caste hierarchy, making the discrimination more rigid. Bakha admire British culture, believe it offer equal, but colonial rule do not challenge changes caste oppression. Homi Bhabha's mimicry and hybridity. Colonized subject imitation Western culture for accepted, but remain included. Bakha dresses like the British, hope for dignity, yet society still seek him as untouchable. In the novel, if only I were a sahib, then no one would be dare insult me. It's talk about like Bakha's passion and thematic perspective. He is like copy to is a British man who like says like a sahib, and whenever he was work in their home that time, playing with that Ranjit Singh like Sahib, and he was give a promise to I will give you as like a hockey stick, and he was like happy, and you feel like whenever I am become a Sahib, no one no, do is like misbehave and insult me. Subaltern study in Untouchable. Gayatri Spivak, can subaltern speak the voice for marginalized people are suppressed by the dominant group, prevailing them from the telling their own story. In Untouchable, Bakha's struggle are narrated by Anand, an upper class writer, meaning his voice is filtered through the outsider's perspective. cultural hegemony. The upper caste elite control knowledge and social norm, ensuring that Dalit remain the powerless. Hindu religion tradition justify caste oppression, leading even Baka's father to accept suffering as his fate instead questioning it. We must live as we were meant to live. In the Baka's father, we say Gujarati say, ભાગ્યમાં લખ્યું હશે ઈ જ થાશે આપણી જોડે. So, social critic and Anand's vision for change. Critique of the caste system, Untouchable explore the inhuman treatment of Dalit, showing caste as a man-made system operation. Critique of colonialism. Anand highlight the British rule did not abolish caste but strengthened social division. Vision for change. The novel presents three possible solutions. Gandhi's speech advocate gradual reform and self-purification. And the novel Untouchable, the mention the Gandhi's speech. They talk about Gandhi's is like talk about the Dalit is like a Harijan because like children of the god, and the radical thinker of view call for a direct connection against the caste operation. The flush system suggests technology can eliminate untouchability by remove the caste based labor. Relevance of the untouchable today. Caste discrimination persists despite being legally abolished. The novel amplified the Dalit struggle, influenced modern Dalit literature. Social and economic execution of Dalit remain a reality. Still relevance, ruler castes discrimination continue. Impact on literature, inspire Dalit writer and activist to challenge oppression. Call for change, encourage awareness and activism and social reform. Chapter 4, the analysis of the novel Go to Small Thing. The wells of silence in the novel Go to Small Thing. The wells of silence in Go to Small Thing represent the suppression of marginalized voice, Dalit, women, and children who are the denied agency by rigid caste, gender, and social norms. Velutha scare silenced by the dominant caste. Velutha, a Dalit prevent is silent through violence for crossing caste boundary. His love for Amo defined caste norms, making him to social order. Baby Kochumba's falsely assume his for of rape and leading to his brutal death. It is crucial how sometimes we the memory of the death on live on for so much longer than the memory of the life that purely. The scholar Mary Chacon's view Velutha's death as a metaphor. Velutha's death is not just a personal but political. It symbolizes how untouchable are systematically erased from the history. Criticizes society that silence Dalit not just a life but also in the memory. The humiliation of the Velutha is not just a tragic love story, but a larger community on how untouchable are systematically erased from the history. Amu's marginalization as a divorced woman. Amu is punished for defined patriarchy, first by the living and abused marriage, and then for loving Veluthan. She spoke to no one, and no one spoke to her because that concept in the novel Roy talk about the character of the Amu. She is belong to the upper class family and she fall in love with the lower class man is like Velutha, and after what suffering and not no one can hear her voice of the Dalit in the God of Small Thing. Velutha as a Dalit hero defined a caste norm but suffering tragic consequences. Systemic oppression. His love for Amu lead to violence, oppressing deep root discrimination. Roy's role bring Dalit voice into mainstream literature, but through the upper class lens. thematic study, caste and social hierarchy, gender and patriarchy, love and constitution, children and childhood trauma, politics and society, theoretical perspective in God of Small Thing. Also, the theory got subaltern study. Velutha embodies the Spivak silence subaltern as he cannot represent his story in the through the other. If he felt no footprint in sand, no repeat in water, no image in mirror. Post-colonial theory. The novel criticized the colonial legalize that reinforce the caste hierarchy. Velutha's social ineligibility reflect how power structure erase marginal voice. Dalit study in Go to Small Thing, Velutha brutal fate represent the ongoing caste violence and accusation Dalit face. I didn't matter that he didn't done. It was enough to policy through the head. Feminist theory, Amu's rebellion against the patriarchy in the punished, while Chaco's he male counterpart retrained the social status. She spoke, no one can speak for her. Social critic and Roy's vision. Critic of the caste highlight the deep root of caste discrimination through the Velutha's unjust suffering, show how the caste determine fate, regardless of innocence or ability. A critic of a patriarchal women like Amu face social execution for defy norm while men retain privilege. Vision for change, encourage rethinking rigid hierarchy and prominent justice and equality. Perhaps it's true that think can change in the day. Relevance in today, the caste discrimination still exists. Velutha's fate reflect the ongoing caste violence and social accumulation Dalit face today. Despite legal reinforce, the caste-based oppression remains the reality in India. Gender inequality persists. Almost struggle highlight the continued oppression of women, especially those who challenge norms. Patriarchal struggles still restrict women's choice and freedom. Call for social change. Roy novel argue readers to question social norms that decade the caste, gender, and power, encourage justice, inclusive, and rethinking of rigid hierarchy. And the chapter 5 last chapter conclusion, this dissertation belong the wells of silence examine the how the caste oppression in the reinforced through silence in the untouchable and god of small thing. By analyze the Burkha and the Valutha, the study highlight the how literature expose and challenge Dalit marginalization. Justification of the hypothesis untouchable and God of small thing depict silence as a key mechanism of the caste oppression. Both novel challenges the silence by the Dalit character voice. Silence may manifest through social, legal, and psychological operation at a moment of resistance emerge. Addressing research objective, Dalit voice are marginalized in the both novel through the societal and institutional structure, symbolizing a narrative technique imply this voice resist a dominant caste narrative. Psychological impact of caste oppression in deep explore through the Burkha's humanity and Velutha tragic fate. Major findings, both novel in the character like Bokha and Veluthas represent the silence of Dalit subaltern. Caste-based operation continue from the colonial and post-colonial India. Silence is both a tool of operation and a form of resist. Narrative techniques, symbolism, fragmentation reflect the Dalit erasure. Dalit literature challenge domination social structure. Contribution of literary and social discourse. strengthen Dalit literary study, post-colonial discourse, and subaltern studies. Highlight the how literature can break the silence surrounding the caste oppression. Reinforce the need for ethnic Dalit representation in literature and society. Limitation of the literature. Focus on the two novels. The study is limited to Untouchable and God of Small Thing, and does not cover the wild Dalit autobiographies and regional Dalit literature. Second is comparative focus. The while both novels depict caste oppression, God of Small Thing and Untouchable, they represent where the Dalit experience to the upper class voice. Further research scope, the Dalit woman's narrative. Further research can explore the gender and caste oppression in Dalit literature. Comparative study examine how Dalit literature works. And the final thought, breaking the veil of silence. The literature serve as a powerful medium to give voice to the voiceless and challenge the caste-based oppression in contemporary India society. The study called for continued effort in amplify the marginalized voice and breaking the system silence. In the last, Gayatri Spivak, the word like the subaltern can speak, but that word will be listen. It's my word. And thank you. Now, if you have any question, feel free to ask me.
Okay, so Kavita, in what ways does social media provide a platform for Dalit voices that were historically silenced?
Okay. In the social media provide a platform for Dalit voice that were historical silence. In the the Dalit literature is like before in the history, the power of upper class people who are in the government and the upper class society is like a Brahmin and other caste people who are the power and position, and and other like Dalit have no power and they are the lower caste and like threatened people, and they think about the today's the now we have a platform like a social media, Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, other social media platform. We are so many activists and journalists through the give the voice of the Dalit and uh, provide more information and future encouragement of the Dalit voice.
Kavita, my question is, does literature written by non-Dalit authors help amplify Dalit voices, or does it appropriate the struggle for literary recognition?
Dalit literature written by non-Dalit author help to amplify Dalit voice or appropriate their struggle for literary recognition. When a text written is like a Dalit literature written by the non-Dalit writer, they is like not perfectly they give uh, uh, give a recognition struggle and focus on the Dalit literature, because in the novel is like go to small thing and Untouchable. They both written like Indian writer, but they are not a proper Dalit author, because they are a non-Dalit writer, and they are given the sympathy and sympathy for the that community and marginal people for the Dalit. And whenever written by the Dalit author, that is like a proper situation feel what the Dalit feel, and the field that is proper way to the Dalit voice in a appropriate struggle in the literature.
So in that case, you should have selected the text written by the Dalit writers then, to see this, or one with the Dalit writer, one with the non-Dalit writer. So then you can make a comparative observation that to what extent the one person who is belonging to that identity can give more justice to that topic. that point also is very debatable, because in everything that literature writers are writing, they are not all those things. Like a man writing about a woman, or a woman writing about a man, these are all identities. So in all that case, that problem may come, whether by birth, if somebody is born into a particular identity, can that person write only about that, or as a human being they can feel the other experiences, and can also give the better narrative about the other identities also. Okay, there is one more question there. You can read and try to answer that. One by the online viewer, Mihir Valera, is asking this question. How does the concept of Dalit aesthetics by Limbale, Sharan Kumar Limbale, differ from the traditional Indian aesthetics?
Okay. The concept of Dalit aestheticism in the Limbak differs from the traditional Indian aestheticism. In the Limbak, they talk about the Dalit literature. Whenever they the concept of the marginalized people from the who are the from the outcasted and Dalit who are suffering, and only like traditional form, like traditional aestheticism, like whose are born in the Dalit family, and that is like work as parents work like sweeper and uh, other like cleaning work, and that traditional was following by in in the literature in the in generation that was Limback was also talk about the concept in this tradition and
No, good that you spoke something, but that is not relevant to traditional Indian aesthetic. That also you have studied, no? Rasa theory and Dwani, Alankar, and Dalit aesthetics. So, you have cited Sharan Kumar Limbale's this work also in your this presentation also, and your research also. So try to read that, read and try to compare. It's a good question that Mihir Valera has asked, but you need to bring that comparison, because both you have studied now, Indian aesthetics also and Dalit aesthetics also. Yeah.
Can
There is
I
one more question by Mehal online. What is the significance of the God of the small things? Which you can give afterwards. You can give as a
Okay.
reply in the comment
Comment.
to save our time. But reply to this question by Mehal in the comment. Okay, so the next presentation now we have is Jai Solanki is going to make the next presentation, and that is on meme culture. Meme culture on modern satire and literature, bridging digital humor and literary canon.
So, Harry, very good afternoon, everybody. Today, on our seminar on the dissertation, I'm going to present on the topic of the meme culture on the modern satire and literature, bridging the digital humor and literary canon. This is my table of content, which I'm going to deal every chapter. Let's come to the introduction. That first of all, the meme culture. That memes first coined by the Richard Dawkins in 1976. He mentioned about how meme improve the idea or concept of the humorous or satiric, or how people will see in a humorous way or funny way. In this chapter, I also deal with the his background, that how meme culture extends the classical literary engagement in the digital spaces, and the merging the traditional literature with the modern humor. So we can find out in the digital era right now, that meme culture is memes are the most significant in the every platform, like that. In research problem, we can find out is it investigates that how memes represents that colonial literary figures like Shakespeare, Kafka, and Wilde for today's audience. That these writers are mostly all study, and they find out the mostly memes are created. In the research question, we also find the study of six to understand how memes engage with literary satire, influence public perception of literature, and serve as a bridge between the traditional and digital literary form. Objective of the study that is key arm to include analyze meme culture's role, perceiving the literary tradition, examine its impact on accessibility, and exploring how memes function as a literary and culture critics. We can find out today's time. We can see that how memes are mostly satirical, and we can understand or we can relate with that. What is the significance of the study? That it's argued that memes democratize the literary engagement by making complex literary works more than essential. This is my hypothesis, research questions, and objective of my study. Let's come to the chapter 2, that literature review. That what we can find out. This chapter provide a theoretical foundation for the study by engaging with existing scholarship of memes and digital humor and literary reinterpretation. In the memes as a new literary form, we can find out the memes are considered as a contemporary mode by literary storytelling and challenging the traditional structure. We can find out in today's time that memes are highly recommending for storytelling. Like even in the literature, we can find out that this challenge the traditional structures. Memes and political satire. In memes influence the public reception by engaging the political and societal critics, and often reinforcing or challenging the dominant the ideologies. We can find out when the concept or the idea of the meme culture is happening, then we have to see it as also political way, or we can find out the mostly they are also providing the background of how political and social term idea is in the memes as well. Meme culture and literary canon is with Shakespeare, Kafka, and Wilde, that is explored how meme culture contextualize these authors and making them their themes assembly in humorous yet critical ways. We can find mostly they are in like it's not like that only these three writer or three author, but mostly we can find a author or writer are critiquing or in such humorous, but in that way also we can find those some satirical ways. In the chapter 3 of research methodology, we can find out the qualitative approach in employs the critical discourse analyzing by Norman Frank Law, that he analyzed how to examine how meme interpret classical texts. We can find out mostly the text are being used or being idea being lead by the memes, but in such context we can find out the normal also deal with that idea, that in the CDA context how meme culture is explaining the idea concept of the satirical humorous way in the field of the literature, or we can say a classical text. In the data collection method, the selected category for memes are based on virality, cultural relevance, and represent of the different humor styles. In today's time, we can find out this meme I'll find out in different platforms like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram as well. This platform is dealing with the concept or idea with this we can say writing or engaging with the today's time. In the selected categories, we can find out these three writers that chosen to do their frequent present in the meme culture, their ability to escapulate the satiric and existentialism and wit in a way that resonate with the digital audience. We can find mostly in their works, or mostly some of the person are making their memes, that they are giving this idea of on the concept that how memes meme culture are based on not only the writing or story, but it's also deal with the one specific word or their ideas, their concept, their is in a way is satirical in the humorous way. In the 4 point is uses the thematic analysis to categorize the memes based on themes such as political critique and societal commentary and literary interpretation. In today's time, we can find that literature, politics, or we can say any other platform, we can find that people are mostly connected with the politics, and they are starting whenever some politics things happening in the news or well, they are starting to make any memes or giving that idea that in like contest of opposite party or opposite way to ignore it, that how uh, political in the political way the meme culture is defining the role, and how it's in a humorous way that they are making or they are creating this kind of the memes. In the chapter 4, the main role of the political tool, as I say, that explore how memes serve a satiric engagement and the vehicle for digital activism, but also contribute to the misinformation. As I said, that many of the people are making the memes in the political. Because of that, they are also being misinformed by other people, because in comment we also find that if some memes are there, in political memes are there, then some issue will create in the comments, because people are voting the different parties or supporting the different parties in the politics. So because of that also we can find, because people are making the memes, but they are not seeing the afterward what will happen in the digital. We can find the more in Twitter, in Instagram, but mostly they are connected with the misinformation. Meme and literary canon that demonstrates how memes function as a bridge between the classic literature and digital culture. In classic literature, we can find the most of it we are studying here. Then we can search, share some kind of humorous way of telling the story, or giving any kind of this relevant memes, or that we can connect with the digital as well. Like how in Instagram we can relate our self also, that when memes are created, that we also find out that is satirical, but still we have to relate with that, and we have to deal with that concept and live with that. A case study of the Kafka's metamorphosis in the popular culture, that Kafka's memes highlight the themes of alienation, existential dread, and bureaucratic absurdity, often used to critique modern social structure. So in Kafka's meme, we can find out he used the inset that basically is not in humorous way, but he's in a way is satiring the society as well. In the magnification of the Oscar Wilde, we can find out its wit and paradox are frankly transformed into humorous digital content and critiques modern society and social media culture and contemporary pretension. As we take the example of the Wilde, then we can say he's a homosexual. That mostly people are making his meme in the concept of this LGBTQ things, and criticizing him for choosing that that field. So the question is raised that why the only Shakespeare, Kafka, and Wilde in chosen in this meme culture. So first thing we can find out that these three are mostly connected with the his absurdity of life. That mostly these they are writing in such a humorous way, but it also is satirical. So in William Shakespeare, in his play are rich with political integrity and existential dilemmas and human folly, making them ideal for adaptation into meme satire. This type of content are really build the idea of Shakespeare. Shakespeare is not only writing any play or story to based on the telling something funny jokes or making some humorous things, but in such a way he also defines the idea of role. When the meme, the people who created or who are making the memes, they are also who reading their concept or the story, and within that they are also uh, give the idea or based on the this particular lines or the particular story, and after that the 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 story is unfold, but still the memes are created for the humorous satirical way. In the French Kafka, we can also find, as I mentioned about the inset, that mostly is not defined any particular satire humorous thing, but in the case of the satirical. In the metamorphosis and the trial, we can find out that is surrounding the digital life also, and is also resonate the with theme of alienation and the absurdity of modern existence. In Oscar Wilde, we can find out his known for his wit and sharp societal critics. Wilde's work also seamlessly translate into memes humor. His one-liner and critique of vanity, class, and social hypocrisy remain highlight a relevance and adaptable in the digital discourse. We can find out mostly because of his gay personality. We can find out the mostly his meme are based on that. He her his story character are based on how satiric and critically way to think and make this kind of the memes. Come to the conclusion, we can find out three major things that highlight the conclusion of this dissertation, and choosing this dissertation because how meme culture out defined our self, but also some people don't know about how it's impactful, or how sometimes these memes are also misinformed to define this kind of role in the literature as well, or we can say in the politicals as well, in other things as well. It's also highlight the role of meme, democrating the literary engagement and reshaping the literary tradition in the digital space. This after research in this field, that how meme culture will define, because when I researching about that, and I find many more research, then I find out after the COVID-19, people are starting, because in COVID-19 everyone is at home, so everyone, like people who are creating some kind of reels or a post, so they are start making memes, and because of that people are critique, people are being argue about that any particular memes or any literature things. So in 2022, 23, and 24, we can find out mostly the resources because of that thing, because people are not seeing any kind of things that okay, it is humorous is fine, but sometimes it's humorous and it's lead to some bad things, that memes are not that connected as a only humorous or making other people laugh, but also as a satirical. Limitation and area for further research, and acknowledge the potential or simplified of literary themes, and suggest the further exploration into meme cultures, its impact on the com- contemporary literature studies. And as I said that we can find out when we uh, study here, then we can relate, when we started to relate memes with uh, based on those any novel, any play, or any other things. And it's because of the literature, we are reading literature, we comes to know that how we involve in this literature field, that even even some jokes or even some humorous things are happening, we have to deal with that concept of making the question of why this kind of the memes are created, and why in such humor way is humorous, but we have also find is some kind of satirical. This is my resources, you can find out, and thank you. If you have any question, you can feel free to ask.
Okay, so Jay, you are currently exploring meme culture in the digital age. So, from your perspective, how literature students and others view the idea of meme culture in today's times?
uh, This question also raised that as a student, what we learn and what we understand in such a context of this kind of meme culture or any kind of humorous things. But when it's come to other people, they are like in a way they are if they are not connected with the literature study, so they are finding this kind of meme culture as any humorous, so they are starting to spread this kind of misinformation or memes to any platform, but they are not understanding what the reason or what the understanding behind that. As a literature student, if we find out any memes, then we have to first we don't have to like we have first understand what the memes trying to say, and in what way it's connect. So in literature student life, we can find out the meme culture is not only as making a laughing thing or making fun of that any incident or any literature story, literature work, but people who are not connected with the literature, they are like spreading this like memes in every platform. But in comment, because in comment they are making misinformation and they are spreading like, okay, this is funny, then we can share, okay, because we have to make them other laugh, but they are not seeing the how it is satirical. So yeah, this is my answer.
Okay, my question is, what is the main theme in the meme culture that are connecting William Shakespeare, Franz Kafka's, and Oscar Wilde's in digital age?
uh, there are the two main things that first is absurdity of the life and human nature. So these three writers are there to comprehend that kind of thing. Like in Shakespeare, we can find out how is a dialogue delivery are there, in dialogue are there that represent like in the memes as we see in the picture, to be or not to be. By in Hamlet, we can find out that okay, how is define the human nature and how absurdity are there in the Franz Kafka's metamorphosis, and Oscar Wilde, as I say, that he is his character are very based on the idea of the LGBTQ community, but some kind of this absurdity and the human nature, the three of there are there in their writing also. We can find out that. So yeah, this is my.
Online question from Mihir Valera. Yes, it says, how does Kafka deal with digital life and critiquing society, because we do not find any direct reference in his works?
Okay, Mihir Valera, I will give my answer in the comment section. So please wait.
Okay, and you also can say that you are not directly talking about Kafka's work,
Yes.
but you're talking about memes on Kafka. That is what you are talking, rather than the direct works of Franz Kafka.
Yes.
But how it inspires, you also have to see this, that you refer to political satire also.
Yes.
Memes and this. So how these three specific examples that you are talking about, Shakespeare, Franz Kafka, and Oscar Wilde.
So
and the examples that you have given, they were not about political satire.
no, it's like they are both different points. Like in we can find out that political is not main thing, but in there are many memes are there. But when it's come to the writer, then these both things are different. Like because the
So these works do not deal with political
No.
satire. These literary writers are not used by meme makers to use as a political satire.
I take this political things because we could define that political, how political in a political also we can find this thing. But when it's come to these three writers, then we have I have choose the different concept of that, not in a way of the political things. So
So you have not selected political memes on these
no,
three writers,
no.
but there are. Yeah.
There are maybe mention about that how they're in a such humorous, but in a satirical we can find out. But in a political way, there are both are different concepts. They are not the same one. Not in the include with the
No, but
political.
if you have seen this, if these are used as a political satire also, memes, then which politics, like whose politics is it?
No, no,
That-
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that political. I choose this idea of political satire in a different way. If these three writers are not any particular political thing, or I don't find any political thing in the any article, or because they are mostly talk about their works. In their works, we can find out that in a metamorphosis of the Kafka, we can find out in William Shakespeare, major works are there. In Hamlet, we can find out, as I mentioned, about the to be or not to be, because they are kind of different points. That,
what is the difference? Can you name that? Can you define that?
as a different from like they are in the field of the literature, and the politics things are there. So I make two points of meme culture in the political and meme culture of the three writers. So these both are not well connected with that.
But you should be able to define it.
Okay.
In what way it is, like, for example, can these memes help people understand literature well? Then you have to say that yes, it is helping. So in what way the memes are helping in understanding the literary concept?
Yes.
That is about either Hamlet or Shakespearean
Yes.
work or Kafka's work also. Then you have to address that also, that how.
So I can include that.
Hmm.
So in a way of the three writers, as you said.
Okay, answer to this also in the comment. Okay.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Okay, so the next presentation will be on by Rahul. Rahul or Pallavi? Pallavi, yes. Okay, yeah. Yes, you can. Pallavi will be making the next presentation on the topic is Echoes of Pain, Trauma in the Lives of Sita, Urmila, and Surpanakha from the Ramayana and selected contemporary narratives. Okay.
Hello everyone, I am Pallavi Parmar, and today I will deal with the topic and my dissertation on the topic Echoes of Pain, Trauma in the Lives of Sita, Urmila and Surpanakha from the Ramayana to selected contemporary narratives. Here are the chapters of my dissertation. Chapter number 1, introduction. Let's see about background of the study. As we see, the Ramayana is the epic which is widely known in the world. So it is written by Valmiki, is a cornerstone of Indian culture and shaping societal norms and gender roles for centuries. Women in the Ramayana are portrayed through patriarchal ideals. Like Sita embodies the ideal wife, Urmila represents the silent sacrifice, and Surpanakha is vilified for her desires. So in contemporary, this is about traditional significance of these characters, but in contemporary retellings, they offers new perspective, giving this woman agency in exploring their inner struggles. Rationale for the study, a gendered re-examination is crucial to recovering the silence voices of these women and understanding their experience beyond patriarchal storytelling. As Simone de Beauvoir says that women are often silenced under this patriarchal society. Trauma theory and feminist criticism provide tools to uncover these hidden layers of suffering and resilience in these female characters. Introduction to the text. So I have selected four primary texts. So first is Valmiki's Ramayana, which offered with my studies to offers a traditional portrayal of women with patriarchal constraints. The Forest of Enchantments by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni. In that we can find the retelling of Ramayana from Sita's perspective, focusing on her emotional strength and autonomy. Sita's Sister by Kavita Kane. which highlights Urmila's silent endurance, giving voice to her unseen struggles. Lanka's Princess by Kavita Kane. In that, we can find that she reimagines Surpanakha as a complex character shaped by pain and rejection, challenging her villainous depiction. And theoretical framework, I have choose two theory: trauma theory and feminist theory. So in trauma theory, we can find that which explores the lasting psychological impact of events, mostly painful events. And if we take in these characters, like Sita, in the case of Sita's abduction; in the case of Urmila's abandonment; and Surpanakha's humiliation. And feminist theory critiques the traditional gender roles, highlighting that how women's identities in the epics are shaped by patriarchal structure. My hypothesis is Valmiki's Ramayana presents Sita, Urmila, and Surpanakha in ways that subtly reflect the trauma often shaped by the patriarchal structures of the time. Contemporary narratives, by making these characters protagonists, give voice to their inner struggles, offering a new understanding of their trauma and providing more nuanced psychological perspective on their experience. These are my objectives, research questions. And now let's move forward. Chapter number 2, literature review. So in this chapter, the main focus on the traditional and modern portrayal of these three characters, and with the help of this text, and with these two theories, trauma and feminist perspective in their narratives. So theoretical framework, in the trauma theory, the main major arguments are of Kathy Caruth, which is there in the Caruth's work Unclaimed Experience. Trauma isn't just the event, but it's a delayed impact where pain returns later through memories and emotions. Judith Herman's argument that trauma silence victims, making their pain invisible in dominant narratives. Michelle Belev's personal suffering reflects broader cultural oppression. In the feminist theory, Simone de Beauvoir and her argument about women are portrayed as the other and lacking their agency in the patriarchal narratives. Judith Butler, gender roles are socially constructed and reinforced through the cultural practices. Kimberly Crenshaw, sectionality shows that how overlapping identities create unique oppression. And these are the other theorists and their key arguments, which I have mentioned in my literature review. Sigmund Freud, and his key argument: trauma triggers unconscious repetition of distressing experiences. Kathy Caruth's trauma disrupts memory and language, making direct articulation difficult. Dominic Lecapra's key argument that trauma shapes both personal and historical narrative, and also his acting out also. Michelle Belev's trauma reshapes identity, fostering resilience through social and cultural context. Denise C. Webster and Eric C. Dunn's gender trauma stems from systematic inequalities needed intersectional analysis. Simone de Beauvoir's patriarchy denies that women's autonomy, and casting them as other is a major argument in the feminist perspective. Judith Butler's gender is a performative shaped by societal norms and not inherent. Kimberly Crenshaw's intersecting identities create unique forms of oppression. Bell Hooks empowering marginalized voices is a key to dismantling patriarchy. These are several articles. Article of Kumar and Prakash. Key arguments is feminism evolved from legal equality to critiquing global power and dynamics. GRK Murthy's Sita embodies resilience and challenging passive portrayals. Sumita Roy's Sita trials reveal inner strength, questioning victimhood and narratives. Monica Khanna's feminist retelling challenge patriarchal myths, amplifying female voices. Mohanati and Das Urmila's silent endurance symbolizes resilience against patriarchy. Vishwa Mohan's Urmila's identity transforms through emotional sacrifices. Shahi and Singh's Urmila's silent suffering reflects modern India's women's struggles. And Nanidita's Urmila's journey shows that how growth through silent sacrifice and self-awareness. And Sinha and Ali's Sita reclaim her narrative, challenging patriarchal interpretation. And from Tripaঠি's article, I've taken argument that Sita symbolizes resistance and gender equality. My research gap is that there is a limited research like Sita on the Sitas. We can find that Sita stories has been widely studied, but there is a limited research on Urmila and Surpanakha, especially regarding their psychological trauma and inner strength. Like theoretical gaps, few studies apply both trauma and feminist theories to explore these characters, leaving a gap in understanding their pain and resistance. Narrative evolution of the exploration of evolution from traditional to modern narrative is rare, missing the chance to see how contemporary retellings give these women a stronger voice and question patriarchal norms. Purpose of the study addresses these gaps by examining Sita, Urmila, and Shurpanakha's experiences through a combined lens of trauma and feminism, revealing new perspective on their roles in ancient and modern contexts. So now let's move forward. Chapter number 3, which is talking about Sita and Urmila. So first I have talked about Sita. So in the Sita's, we can find her tradition, how she is traditionally portrayed. So shaped by male expectation in Valmiki Ramayana, we can find that the major trauma in her life, we can find that Agni Pariksha, when she is hoping that Ram is accepting me after this much pain. But the major turning point, we can find that Agni Pariksha, which symbolizes patriarchal control, forcing her to prove her purity despite her loyalty. Her emotional pain is overlooked, glorifying as the injustice as a virtue. Feminist reinterpretation of Sita's agency. So modern retellings challenge this Sita's traditional image. We can find many modern retellings, like Amish is retelling. In that we can find that a more stronger Sita. But here we can find, if we talk about traumas, so we can find in the Forest of Enchantments, Divakaruni beautifully explored the trauma and her inner self. So Sita questions is societal expectation and asserts her agency. So the belated trauma and emotional survival. So as Kathy Caruth mentioned in Unclaimed Experience, that trauma is not locatable in the simple, violent, or original event in an individual's past, but rather in the way that is a very unassimilated nature. The way it was precisely not known in the first instance, returned to haunt the survivors later on. So we can apply this in Sita's pain. So it is not just a story of sacrifice, but emotional survival. Her trauma intensifies that after her abduction by Ravana. So this is not a one incident, but this incident, we can find this incident haunting throughout her life when she the moment when she enters into the earth at the final stage of her life. So where Rama questions in Agni Pariksha, where Rama questions her purity. So when this pain of abduction resurface long after even itself. So in the Valmiki Ramayana, Yuddhakanda, which is sixth book or sixth kand of the Ramayana, and Sarg 116 and Shlok 9, we can find that Madadhinam tu yatanme hridayam tvai vartate paradhin eshu gatra eshu kim karishyami anishwara. So in that, Sita says that my heart, which was subservient to me, was abiding in you. What could I do? Helpless as I was with regard to my limbs, which had fallen under the sway of another. Like here, she is begging to Ram that I am pure. So Ram is not there to believe in that, as he refused that I have thy no longer attachment with you. At that time, she is convincing him. And Divakaruni, this is the portrayal in Valmiki's Ramayana. But while we see in the Divakaruni take us deeper into her emotions, and she quotes that I remembered the terror of my abduction. Sita says, the endless nights under the sorrow tree in the Ravan's garden, where even in the midst of despair, I trusted that Ram would save me. And then his heartless rejection of me, the fire into which I stepped, hoping to end the burning in my heart, the gods exonerating my innocence, and Ram, contrite yet joyful beyond measure to get me back, ready to start our new life anew. How willing I would be to start over, even though he would wrong me. So here we can find that this abduction scene is continuously haunting in her life. As Michel Belev says that cultural trauma, the trauma reshapes identity, emphasizing resilience. It can lead to a self reconstruction through cultural and societal expectations. In patriarchal societies, women's suffering is glorified. Like we can say that in a tag of ideal wife and pativrata stree, so making that personal pain as societal expectations of endurance. But your words are not proof. As uh, during second before leaving to second exile, Ram says, but your words are not proof enough, not for the citizens of Ayodhya. I cannot take back to them a queen whose virtue they would question, whose purity they would disbelieve. They will think that, like my father Dashrath, I swayed from the path of dharma, enchanted by a wife's charms. It will throw the entire kingdom in turmoil, and I cannot allow that to happen. I owe it to them. As we can find here that societal and cultural expectations. In Herman's view, Judith Herman's view, survivor of terrible events are often silenced or not believed. Their stories are hidden. This deepens their pain. True healing begins when their experiences are acknowledged and heard. So, as Divakaruni mentioned, that here is one such a thing, the terrible, maddening pain that engulfed my entire body. When I entered the fire, I had to use every shred of willpower to keep myself from running out, screaming. The anguish with which I prayed for death to release me, the anger I felt that I, who was innocent, should be made to suffer in this way. So here we can find that this is all in the Valmiki Ramayana. We can find that this is all suppressed through like some magical or purity, chastity test under, but not we can have that inner self or innermost thoughts of Sita. Judith Butler's gender performative. Gender is a socially constructed performance reinforced by societal norms. Sita is expected to embody the perfect wife, silently enduring the pain, uphold patriarchal expectations. She asserts like her right to rejoin Rama in exiles and rejecting traditional female passively. So she has to follow all the rules which is there to follow by women. So Dominic Lacapra's acting out. So what is acting out? A compulsive reliving of trauma where individuals or societies become stuck in the past, unable to move forward. It traps them in a cycle of pain and prevents closure. So if we take a first exile, at that time she is not in that much pain, but then the incident happens: abduction by Ravana, then Agni Pariksha, then rejection, then rejection of her purity, then second exile, then final confrontation, and then at last, after all these pain, she returns to Mother Earth as she chooses her life and her self over this patriarchal norm. Simone de Beauvoir's the other concept. So Simone de Beauvoir argues that the women have been historically defined as the other in relation to men, who are seen as the norm. This reduces women to secondary status, shaping their roles and limiting their agency through societal constraints, not natural. Like if we take Sita, which is known with Ram, overshadowing her desires and agency. So Divakaruni has mentioned that it must have been a god that brought it to you, then, and not a goddess, for you haven't understood a woman's life, the heartbreak at the core of her joys, her expectant aliens and desires. So we can find here the male-centric narratives. So now let's move forward the second section of the chapter. This is Urmila. So how Urmila is traditionally portrayed. So her sacrifice is invisible in the Ramayana. She is as depicted as ideal wife, and we can find that her pain is hidden, reducing her to secondary character, while the epic highlights the male heroism mostly. So Lakshman's this duty towards Ram, we can find that mostly in focus. Reclaiming agency, Kane reframes that in a feminist reinterpretation, we can find that she give her autonomy, she give her agency to speak herself. Silence as a quiet resistance in challenging patriarchal norms. Her endurance become an act of defiance and showcasing emotional resilience. Urmila's pain symbolizes silent protest against expectations of quiet suffering. When her mother asked that why you are not at that time when the first exile is there, so why you don't choose to serve Lakshman with in forest. So at that time they have long conversation, and she says, ma, he has gone away, what difference does it make now? Carrot's theory of trauma, we can find that escapes the direct representation and lingering into the memory as a gaps or silence. So trauma manifests in a repetitive suffering instead of conscious processing. So here we can find that Urmila's suffering in Ramayana reflect this as her 14-year of silence, embodying unprocessed grief and emotional exile. But Kani presents that she missed him each morning as she walks up in an empty bed, cold and alone, and the dread of spending another day. So here we can find that her pain also, and rather in Valmiki's Ramayana we cannot find such thing. As Michel Balev emphasized, that personal and cultural narrative shapes trauma. So we can find that Urmila's suffering is normalized within the Ramayana's patriarchal retelling, as she have to serve her in-laws, and she have to believe on the words of her husband. So we can find that where male heroism is glorified and woman's pain remain invisible. We can find that in Simone de Beauvoir's Other, like Urmila's silence symbolize that woman's erasure from male-centric epics. As Lacapra says, that historical trauma where personal pain becomes intertwined with collective memory, repeatedly invoked to process of the past. At that time, we can find that Urmila remained in her as well, finding herself staring upon at easel in front of her. He had not touched the brushes since he left. He sighed, thinking of Lakshmana. Judith Butler, we can find the gender performativity. Butler's theory states that gender roles are constructed to repetitive acts. As in this quote, we can find that a true wife does not consider her own sorrow. She thinks only for her husband's duty. So in that, this gender performativity, we can find this idea of pativrata dharma. So is Shah explains this in the article that the concept of pativrata dharma, when wife identity is defined by husband, this ideal demands unwavering obedience and emotional resistance from wife. And we can find that Urmila, it reinforces the idea of that woman's strength is in her quiet endurance. The next, let's move forward. Chapter number 4, Surpanakha. So Surpanakha in the Valmiki Ramayana, she is depicted as demoness and troublemaker, and her portrayed as grotesque and dangerous figure in Ramayana. Like we can find that uncouth, big-bellied, unchaste, and highly passionate demoness. This is mentioned in Aranyakand. The mutilation as punishment, her nose and ears are cut off as a punishment for defying gender norms as she approached to Ram. Lakshmana's act, we can find that violence act, patriarchal control over female desires. Thus instructed by Rama, powerful Lakshmana stood by Rama's side, angrily lifted a sword and cut off her nose and ears. This is from Aranyakand. And constant with Sita, like we can contrast with Sita, like Surpanakha is desired is vilified, where Sita's chastity is praised. So it reinforced the patriarchal ideals, like how women have to be in this confined zone, like she have to be like Sita, not like Surpanakha. So we can find that her punishment for assertiveness. And here we can find this binary of Aryan and Asura divide, as Chakrabarti and Parsuna in their article mention that her dark skin and assertiveness make her as an outsider and reinforcing racial and cultural biases. So as Kane portrays that is Surpanakha reimagined that as a woman facing rejection, humiliation, trauma, she is a survivor in her story, not a villain. He's weaponing patriarchy, act of resistance by this Surpanakha. She humanizing Surpanakha. By this quote, we can find that I was never just, she defines her as a Minakshi. So, as she said, I was never just Minakshi to them. I was always the Asura woman, the monster they wanted to be. They wanted me to be. So, she gives agency that questioning mutilation. Surpanakha says to prevent or to punish, or was the motive for my mutilation not only the punishment but deterrence? That critique of patriarchy. And Surpanakha's story as a reflection of patriarchal oppression, we can find this mutilation as a symbol of patriarchal control. Neglected as a child, we can find that in Kane's work, that as she is in a cradle, her mother says that I don't like her face, I don't like her. So she is as a neglected child. And we can find that mutilation as a silencing female agency. So nose as honor, ears as a listening are cut off. So as Terangapi mentioned in their in his article, this also we can find that what weird barbarity was this for displaying desire for those two handsome men. Shifts from victim to strategist, and not just about jealousy. We can find that Sita and Surpanakha's rivalry is a patriarchal constraint under. Her scars would speak louder than their silence, as Kane mentioned. And scars are defiance, not shame. As she mentioned, that her journey symbolizes resistance against systematic oppression. Reclaiming silent voices, Kane retelling offers a feminist trauma-informed perspective. Theoretical, we can find, as Balev mentioned, that trauma reshapes identity and fuels resistance. So we can find in Surpanakha also that her mutilation is a public humiliation, fuels her demand for justice. As Karuth mentioned, that trauma forces survivors to revisit their suffering. That trauma compels survivors to revisit this injury in attempts to make sense of it. So we can take this case also, and this also, her the cut off this nose and ears, and her face, her pride, her very big limb mutilated. This quote also we can find. So is a mythology silence bold woman, like they mentioned her as a villain. So women are pitted against each other to maintain male dominance, and we can find that that Surpanakha's dark skin make her as a demoness. So mythology normalizes violence against women deemed as other. We can find that maternal rejection from Kaikasi, disdain stemmed from patriarchal aspiration project onto her sons, as she wanted son, but she got Surpanakha, according to Kane's work. I was never just a this quote also mentioned by Meenakshi, which is referred that, and literature as a testimony. We can find that literature enables us to bear witness to unheard experiences, and Surpanakha as a symbol of survival. So my and let's move forward to chapter of conclusion. So my key finding is in traditional portrayals, Ramayana depicts Sita, Urmila, and Surpanakha within rigid patriarchal norms through the eyes of men, and limiting their voice and agency. But while we look forward into the modern retellings, we can find that they challenge these portrayals by exploring psychological trauma, emotional struggles, and hidden resilience. We can find here that traditional versus modern portrayals, like Sita from ideal suffering wife to self-determined woman, Urmila from silent sacrifice to unseen emotional strength, Surpanakha from villain to victim or cultural marginalization. And we can find themes like psychological trauma, patriarchal constraints, and empowerment that shift from passivity to resistance. That theoretical contributions, trauma and feminist critique to examine female agency, and this modern retelling recover lost voices and challenge stereotypes. So what are the limitations of this research? So it is limited focus on few selected modern retellings, but future research could explore and regional and linguistic variations, as I have came across many good regional works also. So this is also a field, and adding empirical methods like audience reception studies could enhance this understanding, and further studies can integrate post-colonial and psychoanalytic theories for broader perspective. And also these final thoughts, like these portrayals challenge the oppressive norms and redefine their narratives. Yeah, these are my bibliography, and thank you. Now if you have any question, feel free to ask.
So, Pallavi, my question is, what do you think about the ways in which the Ramayana portrays the woman's suffering as a form of virtue?
So, as a form of virtue, I think Ramayana, as I have discussed earlier, like they Valmiki also portrayed that Sita as ideal woman, Urmila as ideal wife. So they are in that zone or that box of ideal women, how they have to behave. So they have this tag of virtue, like if they are in this box, so they are virtuous women, as we can find this through Agni Pariksha dialogue between Ram and Sita. But if we take example of the after abduction of Sita, so she is not that much virtuous in the eyes of Ayodhya Vasi and the people of Ayodhya and Ram. And we can also find this in the through Surpanakha's character also. Yes.
There is this online question that you can reply. The online attendee has asked this question. Yeah, whose sacrifice do you find greater one, Sita's or Urmila's or Surpanakha's? How? Explain in brief.
I think on that no one's sacrifice is greater than any other else. They three are in their place. They have lived their life. Like if we take Sita's case, so she also faces in her life that so much trauma as she is expecting also from her own husband. So she is not receiving that, and from the society, from the family, from the outside, and she constantly having this burden of neglecting herself. If we take in the case of Urmila, on her place, she is also in the pain. She is also sacrificed, like she sacrificed 14 years of her life without uttering and without questioning the we can say that the belief or words of her husband or her in-laws. She served them for 14 years. And if we take Shurpanakha's stance, so Shurpanakha is, if we look in the context of Valmiki Ramayana, we can find that she is portrayed as villainous way. But if we take this Lanka's princess Kane's view, we can find that she, from childhood, she is constantly neglecting. But if we take from childhood, so Sita and Urmila have that good childhood. But Shurpanakha, according to Kane, she is not having that proper childhood. So from childhood, she is neglected. As she is her outer appearance, she have to be in a margin, and through the family, the outer source also suppress her. So yeah, we can say that there are the sacrifices of these three characters. Yeah.
Okay, well, there is one question from a PhD scholar, Rahul, is asking this. How do you relate the pain of Sita, Urmila and Shurpanakha with the modern women in the 21st century? Are there any differences of pain and trauma in today's world? Be brief in your answer.
Okay, sir. Yes, we can relate that if Sita's character, we can say in 21st women's modern women's century, we can find that if she is a working woman, she have to take care of her family, and she have to first she have to fill everything. She have to be multi-talented and perfect in everything. She have to be perfect wife, perfect mother, perfect, and she have to be have to be in perfect in every roles. Like if we take a Sita stance, so she have to be wife like a Sita, she have to sacrifice like a Urmila, and she if she is there who is willing to mention her own desire like a Surpanakha, so she is villainized. So we can say yes, 21st modernist women are related with trauma and pain of these three characters.
You talk about the Surpanakha, so my question is, in your opinion, what does the Surpanakha's mutilations represent in the context of patriarchal control?
Okay, the mutilation is like she is there to approach the handsome two men, and she is like brought up in that field, so she is not ashamed of that. So she just approached them, and they have just mocking her body, and it is there in also Valmiki Ramayana and Kane also. Like she is, they are mocking of her, and as she tries to defend herself, Lakshman cut off her nose and ears. So we can find that as she want to express herself, the patriarchal control, the patriarchal representative like Lakshman cut off her expressive thoughts, like her expressive intuition. So we can say that, yes. That's it from my side.
Question. Okay. This from an online viewer. Was there gender equality in the era of Ramayana as it is in modern time?
Yes, it is there in gender. Like we can say that there is gender equality in the era of Ramayana, as we can find that this selection of husband we can find in Sita's life, and also we can find that depiction of Vidushi Gargi, and so we can find that yes, there is a gender equality. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Okay, you have to see this also in the title that you have mentioned. Echoes of Pain, Trauma in the Lives of Sita, Urmila, from the Ramayana. That is the text you are using. So make it italicized and selected contemporary novels, not narratives,
Okay.
but novels, selected contemporary novels that you have to see there. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so the next presentation now is by Rahul. Okay? And Rahul is going to make a presentation on manifestation of existentialism in contemporary post-apocalyptic novels. A study of Oryx and Crake, The Road, and Station 11.
Hello everyone, my name is Rahul Desai, and today my dissertation presentation topic is like manifestation of existentialism in contemporary post-apocalyptic novels, like a study of Oryx and Crake, The Road, and Station 11. These are the chapters of my dissertation. And let's begin with the first chapter, introduction. We can see that the background and context, like existentialism in literature. Existentialism in literature refer the themes like absurdity, freedom of responsibility, meaning, quest for meaning, quest for purpose in life, and search for the meaning. Then the post-apocalyptic fiction like depicts of the characters and societal collapse and climate changes and existential dilemmas. Then the both challenges, both like existentialism and post-apocalyptic challenges human resilience and morality in extreme conditions. The quote is like, a man is condemned to be free. Like Satire said, the man is condemned to be free. Like the man has own choice, on freedom, on thoughts, and on resilience in the society. Like research gap in the research, like few studies explore the existentialism in post-apocalyptic genre or criteria. Like why it's matter, like this works is critique modern crises like climate changes, science fictions, technology, societal collapse in various forms, and many more things, like exploration of morality and meaning in extreme conditions of the characters and societal expectations. I have selected three novels like Oryx and Crake, the genetic engineering, in which ecological collapse and existential isolation, alienation, and many more things we can find in this novel. Like The Road, second novel, The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Like in this novel, we can see the journey of father and son. Throughout the novel, we can identify the survival, quest for the meaning, hope, desire, and relationship between father and son. And then third, Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. Like in this novel, we can identify the memory, art, and rebuilding of civilization throughout the characters and throughout the societal expectation in this novel. Theoretical framework like absurdity, in which we can find the life lacks inherent meaning, meaning of characters must create their own meaning, own thoughts, and on resilience in the certain ways. freedom and responsibilities of moral choices in a lawless world, alienation and search for meaning, struggle for purpose in a collapsed society. Then my hypothesis, the road, Station 11 and Oryx and Crake all illustrate existential ideas by showing how people search for morality, meaning and purpose in post-apocalyptic environments. This species underscores the frailty of human existence in the face of societal collapse by examining ideas of absurdity, freedom, responsibility, the post-apocalyptic setting critiques the modern problems, including the environmental degradation and technological dependence, while exaggerating existential quandaries. Research questions, objectives, and then chapter 2, literature review. Key themes in literature review, we can find the key themes of the existentialism theory, like absurdity and meaning. Life lacks inherent meaning. The story's characters struggle with the define their own purpose and define their purpose like exist in the own society. Freedom and responsibility, like individuals make moral choices in a collapsed world. Like Sartre's quote, like God is dead. This quote also the refers of rising of the science, rhetorician, and many more things, thoughts, and many more. This quote, God is dead, is used like a metaphorically quote, metaphorically used, and this quote. Then search for meaning, that memory, hope, and art as tool for self-definition. In which we can say that art as a use of self-definition to contain the maintain the beauty of their culture and society. Then I also give the review of selected novels like Oryx and Crake. Then Oryx and Crake represent the scientific overreach, existential despair and identity crisis, the road, moral ambiguity, survival, and the absurdity of existence. The Oryx and Crake also refer the narrative technique like a past and present narrative technique in this novel. Like Station 11, like also the role of memory, culture, and rebuilding the meaning of own purpose, and many more things. Intersectionality of existentialism with other philosophical discourse like cultural and regional variations of existentialism, role of non-human characters and entities, like in which Oryx and Crake, we can find the Crake, one of the character genetically generate the another crackers, like non-human characters in the novel. Gendered experience of existentialism, temporal dimensions of existentialism, and also we can find the research gap like intersectionality, like existentialism's connection with the other philosophical theories, cultural and gender perspectives, like variations of in existential experience, time and non-human existentialism, AI, today's world, like AI, nature, and post-human identities created by the others and by the own selves. Then in chapter 3, like analysis of Oryx and Crake. Introduction of the novel, The Oryx and Crake, written by Margaret Atwood, published in the 2003, and a speculative fiction novel that explore the genetic engineering, environmental collapse, and existential dilemmas set in a dystopian future where corporates, greed, and scientific advancement lead to the downfall of humanity. One of the most major quote, like there is a story, then there is a real story, in which we can find the first we can find the only story. This is only story, but after that we reading or we analyze this novel, at that time we slowly convert then the real story of this novel. The absurdity of existence, the word has no inherent meaning. Characters struggle to find the purpose in which we can find the one of the major character like Snowman, previously known as a Jimmy. Snowman also character find as a find the purpose of meaning and the purpose of their own life, in which then isolation and alienation, like a protagonist like a Snowman lives in solitude, haunted by past. He also haunted by past and struggle between the knowledge and survival in the certain things, in which in the novel we can find also the major line from the protagonist Snowman. He says like, now I am alone. This line also prefer the isolation and alienation of their own character and own thoughts. Then search for meaning, like Jimmy clings to language and memory to maintain his identity. Like Jimmy also believe in language that in past, and also struggle for their own identity, to create own identity and own resilience. That characters as existential archetypes, like a Snowman as represent as an absurd hero, to survival between the knowledge and own thinking process, and quest for the own identity. Somewhere he lost their own identity in this novel. Then the Crake, who represent the Nietzschean figure who seeks the engineering a perfect humanity. That Cracks also create the crackers in this novel, like the biotechnology, help of biotechnology. And he also refer the perfect humanity, example of quest for the humanity, true humanity. Then Oryx, the enigmatic symbolic figure representing innocence and exploitation. The crackers, bioengineering beings embodying utopian vision, but raising the existential dilemmas. That and in which we also the post-apocalyptic framework, like environmental collapse, like climate disaster and corporate greed accelerated the fall of civilization. Genetic engineering, the rising of sea levels and rising of destroy the deforestation and forest, and many more things. Then memory and nostalgia, like Snowmen struggle to hold on to the past highlights, existential despair. And then in chapter 4 I have to analysis of the Road, two novels like The Road and Station 11. Analysis of The Road published in 2006, and explore the themes of also absurdity, survival, hope, desire, and many more things. The novel represents a significant shift from the previous writings, adopting a post-apocalyptic setting that combines the philosophical and mythical overtones with the stark realism. The Road is story about the two human characters, like father and son. Existential theme in this novel, like absurdity of existence, a bleak post-apocalyptic world devoid of meaning, freedom, and moral choice. Through the character of father, we can understand what is the freedom to the character of father, and father also catch himself with the lot of responsibility, and responsibility towards his own son in this darkness or devastated post-apocalyptic world. Survival versus hope, like the father sees survival as duty in this darker and ash post-apocalyptic world or things. The son embodies hope. The son keep hoping to something great and something good in his life. Then this quote also type and repeatedly in this novel, like carry the fire. Carry the fire, it's represent the somewhere in hope, and somewhere in darkness in the thing or thoughts and journey of this father and son. Like the father represent the existential struggle, like burden of responsibility towards his son, and many more things. The sun symbolizes the innocence and existential hope. The others like represent moral decay and the collapse of civilization. Post-apocalyptic framework. Destruction of nature, like the burden world, mirror existential emptiness, the struggle against nihilism and the despair. Symbolism of fire represent the existential meaning and resilience. Analysis of Station 11. Station 11 published in the 2014 and explore the themes like memory, art, survival, faith in fate, and many more things. Go beyond the survival, it contrasts to traditional post-apocalyptic fiction. During the disaster, this novel also talking about the swine flu pandemics, and it is known as a Georgian flu in this novel, like vital function and cultural artistic expression. Search for meaning, art and memory sustain the identity and the fractured the world. The art and memory both are the major things to convey the thing of represent the own identity and on culture. Then freedom and choice, survivals choose between rebuilding of or giving up. Alienation and connections, like isolation contrasts with the human bonds. Time and memory, the past shapes the past also shapes the identity and survival. The quote, survival is the insufficient, is the major thing. The art is more useful in this novel. The art is represent the journey of beauty and culture. Characters like Kirsten Raymond like finds purpose in art, reflecting the existential resilience. The prophet like Tyler Lander uses faith to construct a new belief system. Jeevan and Clark adapt to the change world by redefining purpose. Like pandemic collapse in this, we can see the swine flu pandemic collapse, the Georgian flu destroyed the civilization. People put on the mask on the face, like COVID-19. We also refer the pandemic, COVID-19. Role of art and culture in this Shakespeare's play and Station 11. Comic book are preserve the meaning of art and culture in this novel. Memory as a tool for self-definition. And yes, in conclusion, chapter 5, we see the as a manifestation of existentialism in post-apocalyptic fiction. Then key findings like existential themes like absurdity, freedom of choice, alienation, and resignation in these moral dilemmas. Research questions are addressed like hypothesis converge, like post-apocalyptic fictions serves as a medium of existential explorations. Implication of future research like reinforces existentialist idea in modern fiction, mirror real world crises like climate change, talking about climate change, pandemics, and technological collapse, how technology helps and how technology destroy the many functions in the real world. Then limitations like focused on the 3 novels, like further research needed on many gendered and the cross-culture perspectives. Then concluding, post-apocalyptics and fiction is not just about survival, it is about the human search for meaning. And these novels offer deep reflections or morality, resistance, and identity in the collapsing world. These are the references or bibliographies. And thank you. Now session for open for question. You can ask me question.
So my question is, Rahul, that what is the role of art in the post-apocalyptic world?
Yes. So Jay, my answer is, as I mentioned, that the art is preserve the authentic beauty of the things, beauty of the thoughts, beauty of the thinking in certain manners like paintings, music, television, and many more things. In which the post-apocalyptic fiction, we can find the many more humanities are surviving, or culture and somewhere culture and societal expectation somewhere died. But this kind of art like painting, music, and television, or many more things, is preserve the beauty of the main things, beauty of the thoughts, and beauty of the real world, or beauty of the culture in certain manners.
So my question to you is, can you give other examples that explore themes of disaster, survival, and scientific exploration?
Yes, Pallavi. I can give some examples like drive this like of theme like disaster, like climate change. Climate change. We recently study about the Gun Island. Gun Island also deals with the same kind of things like climate change, how they decide fire, burden of fire, and rising of water, and many more things. Then scientific explorations, we can find the movie like we can find the novel like Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. Also in this novel we can find the how science explore the disaster in certain manner, and also disaster about the humanity, human purpose, and human thinking process, or a human careness of in this certain ways. Yes, so this kind of things.
Okay, so you talked about three texts. Now,
Yes, sir.
if you want to see in a global perspective, like context of India also.
Yes, sir.
So how come this all things, like you talked about societal implications? The first text, Atwood's, it tries to talk about responsibility in technology innovation. Then the Road tries to talk about upholding fundamental human principles, even in the face of adversity. And third one, Station 11, tries to speak about human spirit's capacity of imagination in this time. So, how they get reflected in Indian context, or in a global context, like it's not only the world which is portrayed in the novel, but does it go beyond those geographical spaces or not?
Yes, sir. We can also consider as a global perspective, like we also take a this idea in which we can identify the new imagination, like the genetic biotechs, like AI, Oryx and Crake. Like we see that the AI continuously help in several things, like making something true, or making something reliable, or something original. So it's keep helping us, but in certain manner we also cross check, or cross checking the global side in every context in which every side of this contextual manner.
Still, not very satisfactory answer.
Yes, sir.
But see that how this novel written in a specific context of a nation. Does it go beyond that and get applicable to everybody on the earth today, or not? That gets to be seen. Okay,
Okay,
the
sir.
next receptor now we have is Bhediya, last one for today's one, and she is going to make a presentation on cyborgs, screens, and games. Post-Cyberfeminist person of image representation, digital narratives.
Yes, sir. Uh, okay, so very good afternoon to all of you. Today on the seminar of our dissertation presentation, I'm going to present myself on the topic cyborg screens and games, a post-cyber feminist exploration of female representation in digital narratives. Yes, these are my table of content, and if we talk about introduction, then I want to begin my presentation with the quote by Donna Haraway, that feminist politics should engage with science and technology rather than rejecting them. The rise of digital narratives in films and video games has reshaped gender representation. The female protagonists now engage with the themes of agency, technology, and identity. And the cyborg serves as a feminist symbol challenging a rigid gender binaries. Scope of study: my dissertation analyzes three films, that is Alita Battle Angel, Ex Machina, and Teri Baaton Mein Saul Jajia, which is a very Bollywood movie. And in this dissertation also I examine three video games, that is Tomb Raider, Horizon Forbidden West, and VNS Matrix. Uses the post cyber feminist and cyber feminist lenses to prove myself, and the theoretical framework, that is also I mentioned. This is my hypothesis and research objectives. My hypothesis for my dissertation is digital narratives in gaming and other screen based media offer a complex interplay of perpetuating and challenging traditional gender norms, utilizing post cyber feminist themes to redefine female identities through the lens of technology, agency, and embodiment. These are research questions. If we talk about literature review, then in this we all know that how feminism has evolved across multiple waves. Yes, we have four waves based on different styles. Like the first wave talks about force on legal rights. Second wave addresses the social equality inequalities. Yes, third wave introduced the intersectionality, and fourth wave digital feminism and cyber feminism, and then post cyber feminism. If we talk about cyber feminism, then we come to know that cyber feminism is not a single unified theory, but rather a collective collection of theories, debates, and practices about the relationship between gender and digital culture. Yes, it examines how digital technologies intersect with feminist politics, sometimes envisioning cyberspace as a site of liberation, and other times as a space that reinforces the existing gender inequalities. Early cyber feminists viewed the internet as a tool for women empowerment. Yes, while later critics, particularly post cyber feminist and feminism, critics that the utopian potential and highlight the persistence of gendered oppression in digital space. If we talk about what is post cyber feminism, then the document Media and the Portrayal of Woman: Introduction to the Post Cyber Feminism. This article from ResearchGate argues or we can say that side the Hester's hypothesis, and in that she mentioned that post cyber feminism is a reassessment of cyber feminism in light of contemporary digital changes. While cyber feminism initially saw the internet as a liberating space for women, post cyberfeminism recognized that the digital world also reinforces gender inequalities, surveillance, and capitalist control. Yes, if we talk about key ideas about post cyber feminism, then we come to know that technology as a double edged sword. While digital platforms have enabled feminist movement like Me Too, and they have also increased online harassment and surveillance and data exploitations. Yes, that the critique of utopian cyber feminism, like early cyber feminists. Uh, yes, post cyber feminists acknowledge that corporations and government control much cyberspace limits limiting its feminist potential. and beyond the gender binaries that it inspired by xenofeminism. Post-cyberfeminism challenges biological essentialism and argues that gender itself is a technological and central contracts. If we talk about the cyborg, then the cyborg is in a way a synthesis of cybernetics and organism. Yes, was first introduced by clients. Yes, the works in their works of cyborgs and space. In particular, in popular culture, cyborg is often depicted as a character with the superhuman and ability and mechanical body parts. Yes, however, Donna Haraway argues that the duality of the cyborgs cannot be overlooked, while it can serve as a marginal existence, offering a new mode of resistance against the patriarchy and capitalism prevalent in the Western cultures. It includes also be employed to reinforce existing power structures. In some contexts, cyborgs might even be seen as a threat to individual anatomy, becoming a mere tool or part of broader societal control mechanism. Yes, break down the cyborgs. If we can see that it break down to the boundary binaries, like challenges traditional distinctions. Yes, a site of resistance, transformation, digital narratives that we find that films and games explore the cyborg struggles with identity, power, and operations that we also find in this dissertation. I'm talking about three films and three video games. That films like Ex Machina by Alex Garland explore AI anatomy and male gaze through the Eva's rebellion against the patriarchal control. Alita Battle Angel, directed by Robert Rodriguez, follows Alita, a cyborg warrior, reclaiming her agency in dystopian world. And Teri Baado Main Aisa Uljha Jiya, which is Bollywood movie, recently released, directed by Amit Joshi. Yes, it represent Bollywood take an AI romance and reinforcing traditional gender norms. Yes, and games like Tomb Raider, Horizon Forbidden West, and VNS Matrix. Reset gap, if we can talk about, then despite of extensive research on feminism, cyberfeminism, and female cyborg representation in digital media, significant gaps remain. Existing studies primarily focus on a theatrical analysis, lacking imperial research on audience reception, how it discovers the demographics, and they find them empowering and reinforcing stereotypes. Additionally, while intersectionality is acknowledged, there is a limited exploration of how race, class, and disability shape the portrayal and reception of female cyborgs. Furthermore, the evolving impact of artificial intelligence, that is AI, and deep fake technology on gender representation in digital spaces remains an under explored area, raising the question about agency, authenticity, and the commodification in post-cyber feminist discourse. Addressing these gaps will provide a more comprehensive understanding of how digital narratives shape a challenge of contemporary gender identities. Yes, the core chapter in that I am discussing these three core movies. Let's begin with the Alita Battle Angel. The key argument that this article by Rodriguez argues that Alita's journey as female cyborgs who fight against the patriarchal system of the control resonate with feminist ideas, agency, and strength. Capitalist operations that we also find that Iran City, if we see in this movie, then this Iran City stands for only patriarchal characters. Like for Alita, to survive here is more in a way problematic. Is capitalist dystopia where female bodies are commodified. Yes, there Alita in a way commodify male mentorship and control, that we find that Dr. Ido's protection terms, Ido's protection terms into um, the suppression. Yes, we can find that the dialogue between the Elita and his mentor, that you just you wanted to keep me as a girl, but I am a warrior. Yes, these are the scenes that I have taken from this movie. Yes, here you can in first image, second frame, that you can see that how the utopian cities looks alike. Yes, and Elita wants to survive in that utopian space, and the mentor that she talks about in the second image, the first scene, when you can see that she is running and battling. Yes, yes, ex machina. That the key argument says that the commodification of the female cyborg body and digital media raises a concern about the agency and control. Yes, female AI has product of male fantasy. Yes, Nathan, who creates Eva to fulfill his idealized image of woman. Yes, surveillance and control, that we also find that Eva is constantly monitored. Yes, raising question of constant. And we also find the original dialogue. If you have created a conscious machine, yes, it's not the history of man, that's the history of gods. Yes, and the argument where when Eva says that, do you want to be my friend, that how the we can see that how she teasing his perception of her anatomy. Yes, here you can see the image. Yes, in first image, that we can find that how Nathan we can see found Eva. Yes, and then he trained. Yes, and the third frame, that we find that how he in a way customize all her body parts. And then last frame, that we find that how robots in a way or we can say that cyborgs feel when they in a way lose the love. Yes, in Mary Shelley's Frankenstein also we find that the creator of Frankenstein, he don't want to take revenge from the victor. Yes, but the society who form him like this, and the last word, that I am done with man now, so like this we also find here. And Teri Baado Mein Saul Jajia, which is Bollywood movie, that romantic subplots often undermine the agency of female cyborg, reinforcing traditional gender dynamics. Yes, and Bollywood's take on female AI reaffirms traditional gender norms rather than the subverting them. Yes, that here we can also find the contrast of how Western film industry portrays the female cyborgs, and how Bollywood industry portrays the female cyborgs. Yes, when it comes to cyborgs or robotics kind of things in our Bollywood, then we have many films based on male gaze, like Robot and 2.0 and Ravan and all these things, that we find that there are only male gaze kind of movies. We have only this movie which is based on female cyborg. Yes, and in that also it Kriti in a way modified to love particular or fulfill the desire of the male characters. Like, yeah, here we can see that conversation that Kriti replied the Shahid Kapoor, that I am designed to love you forever. Yes. Games as a post-cyber feminist narratives, video games as interactive digital narratives. Unlike linear media, games allow player agency to shaping gender representation. Games can reinforce or challenge in a way societal norms around the gender and power. Post-cyber feminist framework, it moves beyond the early cyber feminist optimism about the digital spaces, focuses on hybridity, agency, and systematic power structures in digital environments. Here we have this Lara Croft from Tomb Raider. If we can see that gaming culture has historically sexualized female protagonists, through the modern representation attempt to reclaim agency. Yes, if we can see this Tomb Raider series, it begins in 1996. Yes, the first, in a way, female gaze movie, sorry, female gaze video games in 19th era that stands differently from the male gaze video games. Yes, and by the time in 2030 and 80, when Lara Croft has reimagined as reconstructed and super servile, as a very, we can say that, heroine kind of a figure. Yes, like it develops her, in a way, emotional capability, and the as a cyborg it heals by herself only, like that. Evolution from hyper sexualized icon in 1996 to complex protagonist 2030 to 2080. Yes, critique the male gaze video games. Yes, the reboot series reduced the sexualization, but retained some skeptical elements. Yes, while playing this game, I find that not this game is available on YouTube, but when I search it out, that it is available on what we can say that, in a very old version of the mobile, that is BlackBerry. Yes, and apart from that, it is available on PC only. And while reading the articles, I come to know that 21st, the edition of this Tomb Raider, that is Tomb Raider TR Reloaded, it is available on your Play Store also. So I downloaded and tried to play it. That in a way, there is a very in a way, kind of optical elements. Yes, and it takes me while for clearing the level. Yes, so embodied agency, yes, uses a technology and survival skill to assert independence and strength. Yes, case study of Holloy from Horizon Forbidden West. It is kind of AAA games. The concept of AAA games is basically the games for which we have to pay something. Yes, it is very costly to play also. So for playing this game, I have to I have to pay 2000 rupees. Yes, and after that, it to give me what we can say that, permission to play. Yes, Aloy's character development, anatomy, and defines against the patriarchal system, aligns with feminist ideals resistance. Aloy is not in a way sexualized like the previous one, but in a way her strength is her intellect. Yes, as we all know that how Donna Haraway suggests in this arguing in his cyborg manifesto, that in the case of cyber feminism or post cyber feminism, or in the case of cyborg, there is no, in a way, gender biases, like the all the things which patriarchal or male gaze video games can do. Similarly, female gaze video games are also, in a way, have to follow this. Challenges male dominant game narratives. Yes, human machine and hybridity also we find that how it combines the human resilience with the technological knowledge. Yes, resistant against the patriarchy, challenges the tribal and AI controlled system. Intersectionality, themes of class struggle, environmental justice, and gender subversion. That we also find that VNS metrics, that the gaming industry still commodifies female characters, limiting their complexity in mainstream narratives. Cyber feminist collective disrupting patriarchal tech structures, critique capitalist digital spaces, and corporate control over technology, influence feminist game designed challenging male dominated gaming cultures. Sorry. uh, Interactivity and player agency in gender representation, that we also find that the reinforcement of gender norms, limited player agency in liner narratives, yes, hyper sexualized female characters in open world games, subversion of gender norms, that we also find that customizable avatars, that we also find, and feminist modding communities reshape gaming narratives. Yes, game as post-cyber feminist narrative, that we find that cultural implications and industry backlash, that we also find that the fan reception influence game design. Yes, that how in a way the redesign and development of Lara Croft. Yes, backlash again the diversity. Yes, the argument from GameGate and the conversation of Last of Us Part 2, that we also that I've also mentioned in my dissertation. Non-Western approaches to gender, that we also find the Japanese game balance femininity with the strength. Yes, and how the Korean games integrate the traditional and the futuristic female roles. Video games both reinforces and challenges gender stereotypes. Post-cyber feminism critiques AI surveillance and corporate control over the digital narratives. Player agency and feminist game design the continue to push for more inclusive representation. Yes. Before concluding myself, I want to mention that all these games were Western games, right? When it comes to our YouTube and all these things, that how female-based video games are shaped. Like one has to cook something for something, and like makeup games, and like all these games that we can find from the female games. When it comes to kind of cyborgs and kind of what we can say that uh, uh, reject the patriarchal anatomy, or in a way what we can say that identity or patriarchal discourse, that we have to move towards the Western or kind of games. Yes. In conclusion, this dissertation analyzed female cyborgs in digital narratives through a post-cyber feminist lens, addressing how films and video games shape, reinforce, or post gender identity is central to his exploration to this exploration, questioning whether gender distinctions hold relevance in post-cyber feminism or not. Haraway also argues that there is nothing about female that naturally binds women together into a unified feminist identity. She further argues in the case of cyborgs or post-cyber feminism, there is nothing like male or female. Claim that claim this dissertation both engages with critics, while cyborgs offer and escape from the biological determinism. The reality of the digital spaces still reflects, or we can say that reflects the patriarchal structures, as seen in the sexualization of the female characters in the games and the control anatomy of AI women in films. Yes, thus while post-cyber feminism um, envisions a genderless future, yes, this study finds the gender biases persist in AI digital media, suggesting that Haraway's utopian vision is yet to be fully realized. If we find that key findings, that the cyborgs both resist and reinforce patriarchy. Yes, the alternative feminist identity, that we also find that films and games reflect the market reinforces the gaming and film industry still centered the male audience. Like say for example, when I go and tell my parent that I want this subscription for this game, and the very answer from them is, this is not a male gaze video game, and why you want to spend your money into these video games and kind of things. Yes, so this is the situation. Yes, the interactive media has greater potential for feminist subversion. Unlike films, video games allow the players to shape female characters, making them more dynamic. Non-Western narrative reinforces the traditional gender norms, whereas Teri Baaton Mein Saul Jajia represent an AI woman as a perfect wife, lacking the anatomy. Yes, AI surveillance and perpetuated gendered control. That we also find that despite feminist interventions, digital spaces remains heavily surveilled. Yes, and biased against the woman. And this research, in a way, through this research I fulfill that the digital narrative in films and games both challenges the reinforce traditional gender roles, while post cyber feminism suggests that post gender world. This study finds the technology continues the upholds gendered power structure, requiring feminist critique and the intervention in digital storytelling. These are my references, and thank you. If you have any question, then please.
So, Ria, my question is, how does Western media's portrayal of female cyborgs differ from non-Western narratives?
Like, say, for example, the Western media, or we can say that film industry portrays how we can say that the character of Alita, Battle Angel Alita, and the Ex Machina from this Eva, and all these things. And when it comes to non-Western media, or we can say the non-Western narratives, or the cyborgs, then we have only one Bollywood film, that is the Teri Baaton Mein Saul Jaji. I find more that if it is available for me to compare that from Western and Indian, but unfortunately there is only one Teri Baaton Mein Saul Jaji. And in that movie also, that we find that how in a way the director portrays the woman. Yes, for example, it have to be a better wife, better for their family, and kind of the gender roles that we find, that it movie automatically defined woman in these particular gender roles. Yes, so this is.
So, Ria, my question to you is, in your opinion, how has Lara Croft's character evolved in the Tomb Raider series from being hypersexualized to representing feminist agency?
Like, say, for example, Tomb Raider series is begin in 1996. Yes, and it is the very first female gaze video game. Yes, which stands in the era when all the games and all these things were highly patriarchal, or we can say that male gaze. So from that to 2013 and 18, that we find that she defined as a warrior, and we can say that the development of her that we find. And 2021 and 2021 to 2023, if we talk about the character development of Lara Croft, that we come to know that it is we can say that completely connected with the argument by the Donna Haraway, that in the case of cyborg there is nothing like male or female. Both the male and female can do equal works. So this is it.
Okay. Good. Yeah, you can sit. Yeah. Good presentation. I will give a brief overview of all the 7 presentations. It was good, well worked out, and quite well presented in a very systematic manner, from introduction to the research questions, hypothesis, analysis, and conclusions were also very well presented by everybody. Trupti has taken a very good point, and good examples were cited from the popular Hindi film like Sherni and Bhediya for eco-criticism. UNNATI also has done a very good presentation on the idea of amnesia with Memento and Bourne identity film. Kavitas also was good, but still need to see, like when you get confused with Dalit narrative, post-colonialism, and feminist theory. So you have to narrow down. Your title was about Dalit thing. So how you go in line of that only, rather than overlapping that with other theoretical frameworks. Jai also had a very good topic on meme culture, and it is very challenging in cultural studies to discuss popular things and go much deeper into that. Though lots of studies are being done nowadays about memes as a part of cultural studies, but some more clarity is required into the selection of memes. And when you say anything, like if you say it is for literature or for politics or for a cultural criticism, you have to justify it thoroughly, that how the critics are looking at that. The lots of work that you have cited, that all you have to refer to see what actually they want to say when they talk about it. Pallavi's also was good on retellings of Sita, Surpanakha, Urmila, and the contemporary novels which are retelling the story of Valmiki's Ramayana. You can add, you are talking about trauma theory, so you can add that very the beginning of Ramayana, Valmiki is doing with the help of Karun Ras, compassion, that is at the root of the killing of Croce bird, and how it is. So that also you can use as an argument for trauma, which was felt by Valmiki also, and the bird also, when one bird of a pair was killed by a hunter. So that can be connected with this idea. Even in that question that was asked about identity, female as an identity in the modern times or that times, you answered that you gave the example of marriage, but only one idea cannot be suffice to say that even one character like Sita, who is given an agency to select the husband, but everything is set by fathers or the man there are there who decides the thing there. Several choices are controlled even in the Swayamvar idea there. And apart from that, later on, what happens in the life, what way she has an agency when she is removed out of Ayodhya. And how, because that is the angle of trauma that you want to say, the traumatic experience of either it is Agni Pariksha, or at the end when she decides to enter into the earth. So that also has to be seen in totality. And these are again the stories of people, women who were in powerful positions. So always women who are in powerful positions, like being to the upper class or a rich family, they always have a more agency as compared to the another identities, be it women or any other things also. So that also needs to be seen in totality here. And this you have cited quotations also, that Surpanakha was really insulted by Ram and Lakshman, and the nose, and they were cut down also. So nobody can say that this is a mere interpretation. It is in the original text that the women was insulted by this. So that also makes that point, that it is there as a textual evidence about body shaming, about which was one of the reasons that she was an unwanted woman. Had she been a beautiful woman, how would Ram or Lakshman resisted to the charm? Also, that can be imagined. Maybe they might have resisted, but in a maybe in a different way, rather than the way they have dealt with Shurpanakha. Rahul's also was good on existentialism, and it was more on sci-fi also, scientific fiction, biotechnology, and that also was a part of the narrative. Ria also dealt very well with cyborg, and the good part is that Donna Haraway's book or hypothesis on cyborg is criticized. You have made a critique of that. That is very important, that it is not so that now there is no need of a separate identity. With the advancement of technology, everything is similar. Technology is without gender. So there is no need to see now things in terms of male and women. That is what she tries to argue. And you have made a critique of that, that even today when we see all this narrative, we find that there is some sort of patriarchal narrative that is operating in different ways also. In Ex Machina or Ex Machina, that work, there is a very interesting trope, which if you have taken in the detailed discussion, it is good. And that is that when women tend to exercise the freedom, like they try to be agency, or they try to make the choices, there are chances that they try to become an evil woman also. So how that moral compass can be maintained, and then the freedom can be exercised. In a recent times, we see the example, which is a talk of the nation nowadays. There is a story of Muskan, Muskan Rastogi, Saurabh Rajput, and Shukla, Sahil Shukla's story, where how the husband has been killed and dumped in the blue, what we call it, that, and cemented also, that even it was very difficult to find also. There are lots of memes coming out about this blue color, what we call it, the dumping thing, that where people are seeing, and more men are afraid of that dynamic. So that is the trope, that how femme fatale, and how Eva in that film also turns out to be a femme fatale. So that is also the point, that it is happening in real society also, the narratives that are seen also. It was all good, very, very diverse topics are there. So when we say interdisciplinary approaches, all of you have taken lots of ideas from, not purely from the discipline of literature only, but you have seen literature through different angles also. Okay, so with this, we end our first session here, and after 20 minutes, we will start our second session of day one of our presentations, this seminar presentations.